Chapter 612. What's going on? Aren't there only 4 stages of Venerable's thunder calamity? Yi Xing was startled. The explosion of the 5th thunder calamity was much more terrifying than the 4th. Hearing it, Yi Xing's heart instinctively trembled. No. My 4th thunder calamity is also more terrifying than other martial artists. If other martial artists' 4th thunder calamity is also so powerful, how many venerables who have just stepped into the astral reaching realm would be able to pass it? Yi Xing instantly reacted. His thunder calamity seemed to be different from the venerable's thunder calamity that he had heard of. Yi Xing's strength was far from what an ordinary honorable could compare to. Just the power of the 4th lightning tribulation just now was enough to kill an ordinary honorable. However, according to Yi Xing's knowledge, the number of venerables who had fallen in the thunder calamity was not many. Only a few among 100 people. The success rate of passing the thunder calamity was very high. From this, it could be seen that the thunder calamity of ordinary venerables was definitely not as terrifying as Yi Xing's. However, Yi Xing's thunder calamity was not only terrifying, but also qualitatively different from ordinary venerables' thunder calamity. Ordinary Venerable's thunder calamity only had 4 stages, but he had encountered a 5th thunder calamity. Even Yi Xing had an instinctive fear in the face of the 5th thunder calamity, feeling the danger of death. The surprise in Yi Xing's heart only lasted for a moment before he shifted his attention to the 5th lightning tribulation that was striking down from the sky. Starlight soared into the sky, turning into a black hole vortex. Yi Xing used the black hole astral form. The black hole vortex produced an enormous devouring power, swallowing the 5th thunder calamity. At the same time, Yi Xing used the power of the wind to gather the wind elemental energy, forming a whirlpool around him to protect his body. The lightning tribulation had to be weakened by the whirlpool first. Yi Xing's body turned into a flaming giant in an instant. The golden rock profound spear was also covered in raging flames. Yi Xing's strength exploded to the limit as he thrust out a terrifying spear attack in his strongest state. The 5th tribulation thunder was first swallowed by the black hole astrology and then weakened by the hurricane vortex before colliding with the flaming spear. Even so, the flaming spear aura was instantly shattered into pieces. The tribulation lightning struck the tip of the golden rock spear. In an instant, it traveled along the golden rock spear to Yi Xing's body. In an instant, Yi Xing felt a tearing pain coming from every part of his body. The golden rock profound spear fell out of his hand and his body curled up on the ground. He was almost burnt to a crisp and was smoking. This attack was too terrifying. Yi Xing coughed and coughed up blood. His body lay on the ground, unable to move. After sending out the 5th tribulation lightning, the sound of thunder in the sky gradually subsided. The black tribulation cloud grew smaller and smaller, quickly dispersing. A change appeared in the void and Yi Xing returned to the great hall of the divine dragon forbidden zone. The venerable thunder tribulation had finally ended. After more than 20 breaths of time, Yi Xing struggled to sit up. Looking at the familiar great hall, he knew that the venerable thunder tribulation had passed and he had become a true venerable. Although his body was still in pain, the corners of his mouth revealed a smile. An astral-reaching venerable had never appeared in the true Xian region. Today, Yi Xing had broken this record and became the first venerable in the true Xian region. Of course, strictly speaking, Yi Xing was no longer a martial artist of the true Xian region. His stage had already reached the East Divine Continent, the entire Star Continent, and even the outer Star Continents. If he had stayed in the true Xian region, it would have been impossible for him to become a venerable. Yi Xing sat cross-legged. His eyebrows and eyes were closed as he circulated his astral energy, refining the remaining lightning energy in his body and continuing to temper his body and astral energy. The 5th tribulation lightning was too terrifying. Perhaps even a mid-level honorable might not be able to withstand it. The reason why Yi Xing managed to overcome the tribulation lightning was not only because he was strong enough to withstand the power of the tribulation lightning, but also because his physical body was strong. After being tempered by the divine dragon's blood essence, he was far stronger than other honorables. After all, The venerable's body was powerful only because it had been tempered by the tribulation lightning. However, after becoming a venerable, the body would not be strengthened by much. Therefore, many mid-level venerables' bodies were not as good as Yi Xing's. In terms of resisting the tribulation lightning, Yi Xing was naturally stronger. What Yi Xing didn't know was that the reason why his venerable thunder tribulation was so terrifying and far surpassed other venerables was greatly related to the divine dragon's blood in his body. The might of the venerable thunder tribulation was directly proportional to the venerable's strength. The divine dragon's blood had greatly increased Yi Xing's strength. Naturally, the might of the thunder tribulation he faced would far surpass other venerables. As for the number of times the middle star's thunder tribulation was one more than other venerables, it was because of the astrology. Martial artists with the highest astrology would have one more thunder tribulation than other martial artists. After an hour, Yi Xing opened his eyes. His eyes blossomed with a bright light, as if shooting out 2 lightning bolts. Yi Xing had completely refined and absorbed the remaining lightning energy in his body. The charred skin on his body started to peel off, revealing a new layer of skin. The new skin was full of luster, a robust bronze color, and full of power. Within his body, Yi Xing's qi and blood surged, flowing like a river. It was powerful and powerful. His bones were like diamonds and jade, incomparably sturdy. His entire body had undergone a rebirth. Yi Xing stood up and put on a new set of clothes. A faint smile hung on the corner of his mouth. After becoming an astral-reaching venerable, why would he be afraid of any martial artist in the outer domain Starland? Yi Xing was confident that he would be able to fight even if his opponent was a first-rate junior. As for the second-grade experts like Linghu Feiyang, Yi Xing didn't put them in his eyes. However, several months had passed. Yi Xing didn't know whether the first-grade experts of the younger generation had encountered any good fortune or whether their cultivation had increased. If their cultivation had made a breakthrough, their strength would certainly have improved greatly, and they would be hard to deal with. In any case, I'm in the Divine Dragon Forbidden Land. They can't come in and I can't go out. Since we can't meet, it's meaningless to compete with them in terms of strength. Yi Xing thought inwardly. His gaze fell on the dragon race martial skill on the wall, and his eyes shone. I've already refined the divine dragon essence blood and can transform into a dragon body. I wonder how powerful this dragon race martial skill will be? With this thought, Yi Xing's heart moved, and he activated the divine dragon essence blood. In an instant, golden scales grew out of Yi Xing's body. 2 horns even grew out of his head, and a dragon tail grew out of his back. He had turned into a dragon man. Yi Xing clenched his fist and twisted his body. Explosive sounds of bones twisting came from within his body. After transforming into a dragon body, Yi Xing felt that his physical strength had multiplied by several times, becoming incomparably powerful. Yi Xing executed the dragon race martial skill on the wall. With just one move, an even stronger power was born within his body, causing Yi Xing's strength to increase explosively once again. What a frightening power! Yi Xing was astonished. Chapter 613. The surging power in his body shocked Yi Xing. He couldn't determine how strong the power in his body was, but he knew that it was much more terrifying than when he erupted his strength to the limit in his normal state. Perhaps, even the strongest junior experts would become opponents that Yi Xing could easily defeat. Yi Xing executed the Dragon Clan martial arts on the wall one move after another. The more he executed the moves, the more terrifying the power in his body became. This set of Dragon Clan martial arts had a total of 81 moves. Yi Xing had only executed the 9th move when he felt the power in his body swelling to the limit. His body almost couldn't take it anymore. He couldn't execute the 10th move no matter how hard he tried. Heavens, this set of martial arts must be extraordinary. I can only execute 1/9 of the moves. If I can execute all of them, what realm will I reach? Yi Xing stopped, his heart filled with shock. Before he obtained the divine dragon blood essence, Yi Xing was extremely familiar with these 81 moves. He felt that they were ordinary martial arts. Only now, after absorbing the divine dragon blood essence and transforming into a dragon man, did he realize how extraordinary this set of Dragon Clan martial arts was. With my strength, it's enough to sweep through all the martial artists in this foreign starland. I really want to meet the disciples of the Star Elephant Palace and Dark Moon Palace again. But the formations and restrictions in this divine dragon forbidden land are extremely powerful. Wanting to leave is harder than ascending to heaven. Yi Xing's gaze swept around, sizing up the great hall once more. He then turned and left, exiting the hall. Yi Xing could enter the divine dragon forbidden land from the outside through the flaws and weaknesses of the divine dragon forbidden land's restrictions. However, the way in was the weak point, and the way out was the opposite. It was no longer a weak point. Instead, it was filled with terrifying killing intent. Yi Xing's super brain had evolved, and its functions were much stronger. He could see that the restrictions here were easy to enter but hard to leave. Without super strength or high attainment in arrays, it was impossible to leave. I have the super brain scanning, so I have a bigger advantage than other cultivators. Other cultivators can only leave after becoming a king or a grade 5 array master. As long as I have the attainment of a grade 4 array master, with the super brain's analysis of the restrictions here, I should be able to leave. Yi Xing thought. Yi Xing's current goal was to leave the Divine Dragon Forbidden area and seek revenge from the disciples of the Dark Moon Palace and Star Elephant Palace. Therefore, in the following time, he had to study the restrictions here and improve his attainments in spirit formations. He had to strive to find the disciples of the Dark Moon Palace and Star Elephant Palace before the Outer Realm's star continent closed. Otherwise, once the foreign starland closed, Yi Xing would return to the Starry Land, and the disciples of Xianxia Palace and Dark Moon Palace would return to the Starry Crescent Land. Who knew when Yi Xing would be able to take revenge? Yi Xing sat down cross-legged outside the palace and opened his super brain scanning, analyzing the restrictions before him and comprehending the principles of the arrays. After comprehending for a while, Yi Xing started to draw on the ground in front of him, constructing a model of the array, attempting to construct a grade 4 array. There was a huge difference between each grade of the array. From grade 3 to grade 4, it was as difficult as breaking through from astral reaching realm to astral reaching realm from astral reaching realm. No, it was much more difficult. Array Dao was harder than martial Dao, and this was a publicly acknowledged fact. Compared to astral reaching realm experts, grade 4 array masters were extremely rare. It was not even 1/10 of astral reaching realm experts. From this, it could be seen that Array Dao was 10 times more difficult than martial Dao. The restrictions within the Forbidden Land were extremely high level. According to Yi Xing's estimation, it was at least a grade 5 array that had reached minor completion, or even higher. For an ordinary level 3 array grandmaster, they could at most comprehend level 4 array formations. As for array formations above level 4, they basically could not comprehend anything. Because the difficulty was too high, they could not understand it at all. If they could not understand it, what could they gain? Yi Xing was obviously an exception. He had the super brain scanning, which was equivalent to having the best teacher teaching him. Even if the formations in the Forbidden Land of Divine Dragons were of a very high level, Yi Xing could still analyze their structure through the super brain scanning and slowly study their principles. However, it was not hard to analyze its structure, but to comprehend its principles was not easy. It was not something that could be done overnight. Day after day passed. Yi Xing spent every day comprehending the Tao of arrays. Grade 4 arrays already involved the Yuan Qi of the world. Yi Xing did not have any array materials that contained the Yuan Qi of the world. He could only use the Yuan Qi of the world to supplement it. Fortunately, Yi Xing's fire, wind, and darkness grand forces of the universe had reached the state of the integration of heaven and man in the greater mastery stage. Furthermore, he had gone very far in the greater mastery stage, thus he could mobilize the universe's vitality, which was not inferior to that of an intermediate venerable one. As such, it was more than enough to supplement the structure of the formation. Moreover, as Yi Xing used the fire, wind, and darkness Yuan Qi, Yi Xing's comprehension of the 3 worldly auras was also rising slowly. Every day, Yi Xing's face would be filled with surprise. Every day, he would gain something from his study of formations and restrictions, allowing his attainments in the Tao of formations to improve by leaps and bounds. Time passed in a hurry. A month later, Yixing sensed that he had comprehended a hint of the subtleties of a grade 4 array. His attainment in formations was only a step away from the grade 4 standard. Of course, this step might seem like it was within reach, but it wasn't easy to take this step. It required a qualitative improvement in Yixing's array Tao. Many grade 3 formation masters studied formations their entire lives and were only a step away from becoming grade 4 formation masters. Even so, they could not cross the step and could not achieve it even after spending their entire lives. Of course, there were also some genius array masters who only used a short amount of time to take this step. Whether or not Yixing could take this step and become a 4th grade array master in a short period of time would depend on his luck, or rather, his talent in array Tao. Star Continent. Wei Qingxian had been in the East Divine Continent for 2 months already. After arriving at the Blood Edge Empire, Wei Qingxian returned to the Dark Star sect through the teleportation array. The reason she became a student of the Blood Edge Empire Academy was to go to the Outer Realm Star Continent. Now that she had achieved her goal, she naturally had to return to the Dark Star sect. With Lanqin Emperor's arrangement, the place where Wei Qingxian was in seclusion was absolutely quiet. No one would disturb her. After 2 months of seclusion, Wei Qingxuan's cultivation base finally broke through to the astral reaching realm. In an instant, a surging bloodline power gushed out of Wei Qingxuan's body. With her cultivation base breaking through, her bloodline power became even more frightening. Before her memories could awaken, Wei Qingxuan's cultivation base was sensed by the heavenly Tao and transferred to the dimensional space. The venerable thunder calamity had begun. Chapter 614. Wei Qingxian had the strongest celestial form, the Virgo constellation, and the venerable stage thunder calamity was also 5 stages. Moreover, the bloodline power in her body was extremely powerful. Although it hadn't been fully awakened, it wasn't inferior to Yixing's divine dragon essence blood. Therefore, her venerable stage thunder calamity was also extremely powerful, far surpassing other martial artists. After the 5 stages of the thunder calamity, Wei Qingxuan's body was also scorched black. However, the circulation of her bloodline quickly healed her injuries, and she recovered to normal. The scorched black skin on her body fell off, revealing more delicate and white skin than before. Under the influence of the Virgo constellation, Wei Qingxuan's skin faintly shone with a holy light, as if a goddess had descended to the world. After Wei Qingxian put on the new clothes, the memories of her previous life awakened from the depths of her bloodline. She saw the middle-aged scholar who could destroy stars with a wave of his hand, and the middle-aged beauty whose face was full of love. This time, Wei Qingxuan's awakened memories were extremely clear. The experiences and growth of her previous life continuously appeared in her mind. Compared to other martial artists, Wei Qingxuan's previous life was definitely high and mighty, envied by others. Her father, the middle-aged scholar, was a supreme being known as the reincarnation supreme being, an existence above true gods. Her mother, the middle-aged beauty, was a powerful true god, whose strength was exceedingly high among true gods. As the daughter of a supreme being, Wei Qingxian was born with conditions and resources that other martial artists couldn't obtain even if they worked their entire lives. Since she was young, she ate the best food in the world, drank the best wine, and cultivated the strongest martial arts. Moreover, she had the guidance of the strongest experts. Her cultivation talent was shocking. She had a purple heaven's will, which was the highest heaven's will of a true god. She was destined to become a true god. Under the guidance of the reincarnation supreme being, her cultivation naturally progressed by leaps and bounds. Before the age of 10, he had only been building the foundation of martial arts. At the age of 10, he had broken through the star vortex realm. At the age of 11, he had broken through the astral reaching realm and became a sage. At the age of 13, he had broken through the astral reaching realm and became a venerable. At the age of 16, he had broken through the star sea realm and became a king. At the age of 20, he had undergone his first nirvana and became a quasi-god. She was born with such a superior background, and her cultivation speed was so fast that no one in the world could compare to her. Moreover, she was extremely doted on by her parents. Anything she wanted, she could have it as long as she asked. Setbacks were simply non-existent to her. Growing up under the wings of her parents, she did not understand the evilness of the human heart, nor did she understand the difficulties of the martial path. Before she had fully grown into a true god, her personality had already killed her. She revealed something that she shouldn't have and let others know that her astrological sign was the Virgo astrological sign. Furthermore, when the reincarnation supremacy left the reincarnation palace, she was tricked out of the reincarnation palace and was captured by the reincarnation supremacy's opponent, the Shueli supremacy. Even though reincarnation supremacy had left her with a large number of life-saving treasures, none of them would be effective against a supremacy as long as she was not in reincarnation palace. Because she was captured, her mother left the reincarnation palace with the supreme artifact and fought with the Shueli supremacy. She died, and only managed to buy some time for the reincarnation supremacy to rush back. The two supremacies had a great battle outside the reincarnation palace. Although the reincarnation supremacy won the battle and injured the Shueli supremacy, he did not win his daughter's life. He only won a corpse. The Shueli supremacy killed her when he was escaping. Both his wife and daughter had died, but the reincarnation supremacy could only save one. He was caught in a dilemma. In the end, the reincarnation supremacy sealed his wife in ice and chose to save his daughter. He used the reincarnation Great Tao to let his daughter be reborn. In this life, the reincarnation supremacy did not let his daughter be born into a deity clan or a king's force. Instead, he let her be born into the most ordinary martial arts clan. He let her start from the bottom of the martial path and grow step by step. For this reason, the reincarnation supremacy sealed her bloodline and memories. As her cultivation increased, she would be able to slowly unseal the seal and awaken her bloodline and memories. Although her conditions in this life were far inferior to her previous life, and her cultivation speed could not be compared to that of her previous life, but growing up step by step in a difficult environment, the tempering of her mental state was clearly not something a flower in a greenhouse could compare to. In her previous life, she had the purple destiny, and could naturally cultivate to the true God realm. However, her final destination was basically the true God realm. In this life, the reincarnation supremacy had high hopes for her, and hoped that she could also break through to the supremacy realm. The memories in her mind disappeared, and only the figure of a middle-aged scholar remained. It was the reincarnation supremacy. You being able to awaken these memories means that you have already stepped into the astral reaching realm and have begun to see the world. You can be considered to have truly stepped into the martial Tao palace. The martial Tao is to explore the mysteries of heaven and earth and control the yuan qi of heaven and earth. Only then can you be considered to have truly stepped into the martial Tao. You have reached this realm and can cultivate Father's minor reincarnation art. I will pass it to you now. The reincarnation supremacy formed a hand seal, and with a wave of his hand, Wei Qingxian felt a wave of memories surge out from the depths of her bloodline. It was the cultivation inheritance of the minor reincarnation art. Wei Qingxuan's heart skipped a beat. This was a deity-grade cultivation technique. If it were an ordinary martial artist, even if they obtained the minor reincarnation art, they would not be able to cultivate it. A deity-grade cultivation technique was too high level. If they couldn't even understand it, how could they cultivate it? However, Wei Qingxian had the reincarnation supremacy's bloodline, and the minor reincarnation art was created by the reincarnation supremacy. Wei Qingxian had also cultivated it in her previous life. Therefore, there was a very familiar feeling, and she could barely cultivate it. When an astral-reaching realm cultivator cultivated a deity-grade cultivation technique, even if they could barely cultivate it and only scratched the surface, their power was not something that other cultivators of the same realm could compare with. They would be able to challenge those of a higher realm. In other words, as long as Wei Qingxian cultivated the minor reincarnation art, she would be able to easily sweep away low-level cultivators. She would even be able to fight mid-level cultivators. The reincarnation supremacy's figure was still there, and his voice continued to resound in Wei Qingxuan's mind. Don't blame me for not saving your mother. Your mother's martial potential has been exhausted, and she has no fate to become a supremacy. But you do. I will let you be reborn. As long as you become a supremacy in the future, you and I will work together to bring your mother back to life. Your mother died trying to save you. If it weren't for her stalling for time, by the time I rushed back to the reincarnation palace, you would have been captured by Shueli. Your fate would be even more miserable than death. Now, your mother's fate is in your hands. If you become a supremacy, your mother will have a chance to come back to life. If you don't become a supremacy, your mother will never wake up. You have to work hard. Father will be waiting for you in the reincarnation palace. I hope you can rely on your own efforts to return to the reincarnation palace one day. With that, the reincarnation supremacy's figure disappeared from Wei Qingxuan's mind. The previous memories were still vivid in her mind. Her mother's face had already been engraved in Wei Qingxuan's heart. I will definitely become a supremacy. There were tears in Wei Qingxuan's eyes, but they bloomed with a resolute gaze as she swore in her heart. Chapter 6:15. Extraterritorial Starland, Divine Dragon Forbidden Land. Yi Xing continued to study formations and restrictions, comprehending formations day after day. Every day, Yi Xing's attainments in the Tao of formations improved by leaps and bounds. His comprehension of the three grand forces of heaven and earth, wind, fire, and darkness, also improved tremendously. When Yi Xing was only a step away from becoming a fourth-grade formation master, it only took half a month for Yi Xing to make a breakthrough in formations and become a fourth-grade formation master. When the first level 4 formation model was completed, Yi Xing's heart was filled with intense joy. He finally had hope of leaving the Divine Dragon Forbidden Land. Yi Xing stood up and scanned the surroundings with his super brain. After becoming a fourth-grade formation master, his understanding of formations had improved qualitatively. When he looked at these formations and restrictions again, there were more flaws and weak areas that he could not detect in the past. When Yi Xing was a level 3 array grandmaster, he could use his superbrain to scan the structure of the array, but he felt that it was impenetrable. Now that he looked at it again, he could find a way out. This was the importance of array formation skills. Yi Xing walked forward and entered the formations and restrictions. He walked with the corresponding footwork, and as expected, he did not attract any attacks from the formations and restrictions. Occasionally, when he came across some obstruction-type formations and restrictions, Yi Xing would take out the Golden Rock Profound Spear, find the weak points, and break through by force. In this way, although his speed was not fast, Yi Xing kept moving forward. After several days of effort, he finally left the central forbidden land of the Divine Dragon Forbidden Land. When he reached the outer region with Yi Xing's current super brain function, he could clearly see which places were safe and which were dangerous. Yi Xing directly ran and soon left the Divine Dragon Forbidden Land. Yi Xing turned around and looked at the depths of the Divine Dragon Forbidden Land. There was still dragon-shaped essence flowing inside, and there were many halls on the mountain peak. Yi Xing could not tell which hall he had entered, but he was very sure that there was a great treasure in the Divine Dragon Forbidden Land. What he had obtained was just a small part of it. I wonder who left this treasure behind. The conditions are so harsh. Perhaps the owner did not want others to obtain it. I was able to obtain a lump of Divine Dragon Essence blood and learn the martial arts of the Dragon Clan. This is already a heaven-defying fortune. I am extremely lucky. If it weren't for the super brain, I would have died if I entered the central forbidden area. If it weren't for the black hole astrology, I would have been assimilated by the Divine Dragon Essence blood when I touched it. It's hard to come across such a fortuitous encounter again. Yi Xing withdrew his gaze from the forbidden land of the Divine Dragon and turned to look at him. His eyes were filled with excitement and battle intent. Star Elephant Palace, Dark Palace, it's time for me to kill you. Yi Xing muttered to himself, revealing a murderous aura. Calculating the time, it had been almost half a year since he entered the extraterritorial Starland. It was almost time for it to close. Yi Xing frowned. Although the extraterritorial starland was not big, it was not small either. He did not know where the disciples of Star Elephant Palace and Dark Moon Palace were. It would not be easy to find them in a short time. The azure cloud wings appeared behind Yi Xing. He randomly chose a direction and flew forward. After searching for more than 2 hours, not only did he not meet any disciples of Star Elephant Palace and Dark Moon Palace, he did not even meet a single martial artist. In this extraterritorial starland, there were only a total of 100 martial artists of the younger generation in the Starry Crescent Land. Among them, 3 had died in the hands of Yi Xing. The rest might have died as well. The survivors were scattered all over the place. It was not easy to find one. Just as Yi Xing was thinking about how to find the disciples of Star Elephant Palace and Dark Moon Palace, an aura suddenly locked onto him. In an instant, the void around Yi Xing formed a wall, immobilizing him. While Yi Xing was shocked, the void around him suddenly turned into a space vortex. Yi Xing was pulled into it. After a moment of dizziness, Yi Xing once again stepped on solid ground. The space vortex disappeared and his surroundings returned to normal. He appeared in front of a huge jade wall. Yi Xing's eyes suddenly lit up. In front of this jade wall, he was not the only one. There were many other martial artists. There were at least 70 to 80 people. Big Dipper Sword sect disciple Feng Xiaoxiao, Xing Luyang, Xing Liuyu and other disciples of Star Elephant Palace, Xian Yifeng, Yi Yunchuan and other disciples of Dark Moon Palace were among them. From the expressions of these people, it was clear that they were the same as Yi Xing. They were all suddenly transported here by the space vortex. Yi Xing's heart was filled with a strong sense of joy. This was really searching high and low only to find it by chance. He was just thinking about taking revenge on the disciples of Star Elephant Palace and Dark Moon Palace. Who would have thought that they would meet again so soon? Feng Xiaoxiao, you can't escape. Ha! Xing Liuyu laughed loudly and rushed towards Feng Xiaoxiao. At the same time, a black-robed youth also rushed towards Feng Xiaoxiao from another direction, forming a pincer attack. Yi Xing looked at Feng Xiaoxiao and discovered that he was not in a good state. His clothes were somewhat tattered. Evidently, he had just experienced a great battle. And he's already a 2-star venerable. Yi Xing immediately sensed the change in Feng Xiaoxiao's cultivation base from the aura that erupted from his body. Xing Liuyu's cultivation base has also broken through. He's already a 3-star venerable. Yi Xing's gaze turned towards Xing Liuyu and the black-robed youth, who were attacking Feng Xiaoxiao. This was the first time Yi Xing had seen the black-robed youth, so he did not recognize him. However, his aura was extremely powerful, not any weaker than Xing Liuyu's. Moreover, his cultivation base had reached the 4th level of astral reaching realm. He was the one with the highest cultivation base among all the martial artists present. After breaking through to 2-star venerable, Feng Xiaoxiao's strength had greatly increased and he had begun to counterattack. However, Xing Liuyu from Star Elephant Palace had also broken through to 3-star venerable. His strength was not much inferior to Feng Xiaoxiao's. Moreover, the genius disciple of Demon Sealing Valley, Feng Xiong, had also encountered a great opportunity in the Outer Realm Starland. His cultivation base had broken through to mid-level venerable. Star Elephant Palace and Dark Moon Palace had sought out Feng Xiong for cooperation. With Feng Xiong's help, Feng Xiaoxiao was at a disadvantage in a 1 versus 2 battle and was chased by Xing Liuyu and Feng Xiong. With great difficulty, Feng Xiaoxiao managed to escape from Xing Liuyu and Feng Xiong's pursuit. In the end, on the last day of the Outer Realm Starland's closure, all the martial artists had been transported to the Black Tortoise Jade Wall in the center of the Starland. Yi Xing's gaze swept over Xing Lung, Linghu Feiyang, Yi Yunchuan, and the other martial artists he knew. He discovered that their cultivation bases were still the same as 4 months ago. In the blink of an eye, Yi Xing sized up all the martial artists. Xing Liuyu and Feng Xiong had attacked Feng Xiaoxiao in the blink of an eye. Brat, you actually didn't die. While Yi Xing was sizing up the others, they had also noticed him. Xing Liang let out a loud shout, his eyes wide open as he looked at Yi Xing with astonishment. Even if you didn't die, you'll die today. Ling Hu Feiyang directly charged at Yi Xing with an ominous glint in his eyes. Chapter 616. Although Ling Hu Feiyang's cultivation base hadn't broken through and was still a 2-star venerable, his cultivation base had stabilized to the peak of the 2nd level of astral reaching realm. Compared to 4 months ago, his strength had greatly increased. Among the 3-star venerables, he was already at the peak. Last time, Ling Hu Feiyang had defeated Yi Xing and had nearly allowed Yi Xing to escape. Now that they were encountering each other again, Ling Hu Feiyang would naturally be the first to charge at Yi Xing to make up for his mistake last time. When Ling Hu Feiyang attacked Yi Xing, the Dark Yin Palace disciple Yi Yunchuan's body surged with black qi and disappeared, concealing his figure. Yi Xing's current superbrain was a lot more powerful than before. Even if he was far away, he could still clearly scan Yi Yunchuan's figure. He knew that the latter was circling around behind him and cutting off his escape route. The corner of Yi Xing's mouth perked up, revealing a trace of a cold smile. Cutting off his escape route? Yi Xing had never thought of running away. Seeing Ling Hu Feiyang rushing over, Yi Xing deliberately retreating towards Yi Yunchuan. Yi Yunchuan had secretly launched a sneak attack and injured Yi Xing. Therefore, Yi Xing had listed him as the number 1 person he had to kill. Seeing Yi Xing retreating towards him, the corner of Yi Yunchuan's mouth revealed a trace of a cruel smile. He thought that Yi Xing was panicking, but he didn't know that Yi Xing was deliberately coming. "Where do you think you're going?" Ling Hu Feiyang shouted loudly. His body instantly streaked across the sky like a rock, chasing after Yi Xing. Whoosh! Starlight soared into the sky as Ling Hu Feiyang operated his star form, pouring down surging wood attribute star power. He waved his hand, and the star power turned into a huge vine, grabbing towards Yi Xing. The azure cloud wings appeared behind Yi Xing's back. His retreating speed suddenly increased. It looked like he was dodging the attack of the vine hand. In a blink of an eye, he had already flashed to the side of the hidden Yi Yunchuan. Good timing! Yi Yunchuan didn't know that Yi Xing was deliberately retreating. Seeing Yi Xing retreating to his side, he immediately attacked. A cold light flashed, stabbing towards Yi Xing's throat. Yi Xing raised his arm and clamped his 2 fingers. A cold light fell between his fingers. It was a short dagger. After the refinement of the divine dragon essence blood, Yi Xing's body, it was no weaker than an ordinary venerable. After the refinement of the venerable thunder calamity, it had become even stronger. Although the venerables, yes, the venerable S's, the venerables' S, the venerables, S venerable a venerate. Yi Xing's physical body had been tempered by the thunder tribulation, so his physical body was much stronger than other martial artists. It was no exaggeration to say that Yi Xing could sweep away the same level venerables just by relying on the strength of his body. Although Yi Yunchuan had the strength of a 3-star venerable, he didn't use his celestial body at this moment. The power of his attack was not very strong. It was not much stronger than a 2-star venerable. Yi Xing naturally used 2 fingers to clamp the opponent's attack. Yi Yunchuan's short dagger was actually clamped by Yi Xing's 2 fingers. This made him shocked. At this time, Yi Xing's other hand formed a claw and grabbed downwards. It was as fast as lightning. It was beyond Yi Yunchuan's expectation. Naturally, he was caught head-on. A mournful scream rang out. Yi Xing's 5 fingers were like fine steel and black iron. They directly pierced into Yi Yunchuan's head. The 5 fingers shot out star energy and instantly turned Yi Yunchuan's head into paste. In the blink of an eye, Yi Yunchuan had secretly made a move and Yi Xing had killed him instead. The genius disciple of the Dark Yin Palace, Yi Yunchuan, died instantly. Kiss. The martial artists present all sucked in a breath of cold air. Yi Yunchuan's strength was in the 2nd level. He had the ability to challenge those of a higher level in the venerable realm. But he was actually killed in an instant. Furthermore, he had been killed in an instant while he was secretly assassinating Yi Futian. This was simply unbelievable. Ling Hu Feiyang, who was chasing after Yi Xing to kill him, was also greatly astonished. In terms of strength, Ling Hu Feiyang was not inferior to Yi Yunchuan. However, if the two of them were to engage in a life and death battle, Ling Hu Feiyang felt that his chances of winning were less than 30%. Yi Yunchuan's assassination technique was unpredictable. It was impossible to guard against. Ling Hu Feiyang asked himself, if he was suddenly assassinated by Yi Yunchuan, it would be best if he could escape safely. It was absolutely impossible for him to kill Yi Yunchuan, let alone in an instant. To be able to kill Yi Yunchuan who was secretly assassinating him, what kind of strength was that? In an instant, timidity appeared in Ling Hu Feiyang's heart. Yi Xing had a strange astrology that could make people fall into a world of darkness. Ling Hu Feiyang had a deep understanding of this. Therefore, even when he was stronger than Yi Xing, he couldn't do anything to Yi Xing. Now, Yi Xing's strength had reached such a level. If he fell into the world of darkness again, how could he still be alive? Ling Hu Feiyang's heart was timid at first. Then, it turned into a great terror between life and death. He quickly withdrew his attack and turned around to escape. However, he was already very close to Yi Xing. How could it be so easy to escape? Stay! Yi Xing coldly shouted. He instantly threw Yunchuan's corpse away. The azure cloud wings behind him flapped. The power of wind was circulated to the limit as he rushed towards Ling Hu Feiyang. At the same time, the golden rock profound spear appeared in Yi Xing's hand. Yi Xing used the wind shadow spear technique. The wind shadow spear technique was originally focused on speed. Coupled with the acceleration of wind energy, it was like a meteor streaking across the sky. Poet! In an instant, the golden rock profound spear caught up to Ling Hu Feiyang. It pierced through the back of Ling Hu Feiyang's neck and came out from his throat. If Ling Hu Feiyang had resisted with all his strength, Yi Xing would have been able to block the spear without using his astrology. The other cultivators from Xianxia Palace would be able to rescue him in time. However, he turned around and fled. He made a huge mistake in front of Yi Xing. Yi Xing's speed was too fast. It was impossible for him to escape. He would only die even faster. Ling Hu Feiyang's eyes widened. He looked at the spear tip that came out from his throat. He wanted to say something but he couldn't say anything. Yi Xing's spear pierced Ling Hu Feiyang. Blood quickly flowed out from the grooves on both sides of the spearhead. He coldly said, "Can you escape?" Hearing Yi Xing's voice, Ling Hu Feiyang's eyes were filled with despair and terror. In an instant, an intense pain came from his neck. Yi Xing had instantly retrieved the golden rock profound spear. The spear tip came back and tore open a bloody hole in Ling Hu Feiyang's neck. Even though a venerable had a powerful life force, Ling Hu Feiyang's life was instantly drained away. His hands covered his throat as he fell to the ground. His eyes were wide open as he died with remaining grievances. The disciples of Xianxia Palace and Dark Moon Palace who were charging towards Yi Xing all stopped. They looked at Yi Xing with shock. As a 3-star venerable, Xing Liuyang's strength was comparable to a mid-level venerable. At this moment, he looked at Yi Xing with a grave expression. He didn't dare to underestimate him in the slightest. You actually broke through to the astral reaching realm. Xing Liuyang stared at Yi Xing and said word by word. His voice was filled with shock. Chapter 617. For months ago, Xing Liuyang had met Yi Xing. At that time, Yi Xing's cultivation base had only reached half-step venerable. The gap between the astral reaching realm and the astral star realm was a huge gap in the martial path. Even the geniuses of the starry crescent continent would be stuck at half-step venerable for a year or two. Yi Xing was only a martial artist from a lower continent. Yet, he had passed through the venerable thunder calamity and become an astral reaching venerable in such a short period of time. Yi Xing held the golden rock profound spear in his hand. Fire Yuan Qi gathered around his body while Wind Yuan Qi revolved around him. Yi Xing's eyes were filled with killing intent as he looked at Xing Liuyang and said, "What? Are you afraid? It was you who forced me into the forbidden zone. Otherwise, how could I have reached the astral reaching realm so quickly? To be honest, I really have to thank you. How about I send you off to reunite with Ling Hu Feiyang? You think I'm afraid of you?" Xing Liuyang roared. His hair and beard fluttered as he released his cultivation. A terrifying aura burst out as he said, So what if you've stepped into the astral reaching realm? Although I haven't broken through, my strength has improved greatly. I'm invincible among the 4-star venerables. Even if your battle strength is heaven-defying and can be compared with ordinary 4-star venerables, in front of me, there's only one outcome: death. Pointing his golden rock profound spear at Xing Liang, Yi Xing said coldly, "Then come and try." Xing Liuyang's gaze swept over the disciples of the Star Elephant Palace and Dark Moon Palace. He transmitted his voice to them, telling them that if the situation went south, they would swarm up and kill Yi Xing. Then he looked at Yi Xing and sneered, "Since you want to die so much, I'll fulfill your wish." A beam of starlight shot up into the sky, turning into a flaming star. It was an extreme flaming star. At the same time, Xing Liang raised his hand and the profound flame spear appeared in his hand. A large amount of fire yuan qi gathered around his body, turning him into a flame emissary. Yi Xing also used his flame astral avatar. Xing Liuyang's strength was not to be underestimated. Yi Xing had to go all out to fight. "Fire dragon leaves the mountain," Xing Liang shouted as the ardent flame profound spear in his hand bloomed with bright flames. The spear shot out and turned into a fiery dragon spear. This fire dragon bared its fangs and brandished its claws. It was filled with berserk power, enough to instantly injure or even kill a 3-star venerate. Wind Shadow Spear Art. Yi Xing's spear was like a cold light, thrusting out like a stream of light. Its speed was inconceivably fast. This spear contained the power of wind and darkness. Not only was it fast, but it was also hard to detect. Yi Xing went around the spear of Fire Dragon and went straight for Xing Liuyang's throat. If it had been an ordinary 4-star venerable, Yi Xing's spear attack would have definitely been able to force the other party to return to defense. However, Xing Liang was not an ordinary 4-star venerable. When he saw that Yi Xing's spear was too fast, he immediately opened his martial Dao heavenly eye and sneered. "You want to force me to return to defense with your speed? Dream on." Fire Dragon swings its tail. In an instant, Xing Liuyang's spear turned into a sweep. The tail of the spear of Fire Dragon moved horizontally and collided with Yi Xing's spear. Boom! The Wind Shadow spear dissipated in an instant. In terms of the strength of the stars, Yi Xing was inferior. In terms of martial arts attainment, Yi Xing was at the supreme grade spiritual martial transformative realm, while Xing Liuyang had mastered a low-grade profound level martial art. Yi Xing was slightly inferior. In terms of the power of the stars, Yi Xing's golden rock spear was at the low-grade profound level, while Xing Liuyang's blazing flame spear was at the mid-grade profound level. Yi Xing was still inferior. Even though Yi Xing's understanding of the momentum of heaven and earth and his control of the qi of heaven and earth was stronger than Xing Liuyang's, he was still no match for Xing Liuyang in a head-on collision. Yi Xing was slightly inferior. Xing Liuyang's spear shattered Yi Xing's wind shadow spear and continued to stab at Yi Xing. Yi Xing performed the shadow steps and split his body, dodging the spear. Fire Dragon soars the sky. Xing Liuyang shouted and unleashed his aura to the extreme. He performed one of the unique skills of the Fiery Dragon Spear art. The Fiery Dragon Spear art was 100 meters long. It soared into the sky and flew around Xing Liuyang. Wherever it passed, waves of air billowed. Cracks appeared on the ground just from the rapid airflow. It could be seen how terrifying the Fiery Dragon Spear art was. The Fiery Dragon Spear art was too fast. Circle after circle, it kept expanding. Even though Yi Xing's shadow steps were exquisite and unpredictable, he still felt that he could not avoid it. Layers of wind shadows. Yi Xing unleashed his strength to the extreme and performed the unique skill of the Wind Shadow Spear art. In an instant, the sky was filled with spear shadows and they all rushed towards the Fiery Dragon Spear art. Bang, bang, bang. However, the Fiery Dragon Spear art was powerful and unstoppable. The Wind Shadow Spear art shattered one after another, but the Fiery Dragon Spear art continued to move forward, only slightly weaker. Your attack power is not good enough. You can't block it. Ha! Xing Liuyang let out a peal of laughter. Yi Xing's martial art was only a spirit-level supreme-grade martial art. Even though it had reached the transcendent state and could easily defeat an overlord, it was nothing in front of Xing Luyang. Yi Xing knew that his weakness was his martial art. The Wind Shadow Spear art was only of the highest grade of the spiritual level, and it was not compatible with the flame astrology. Therefore, in terms of power, it could not be compared to Xing Liuyang's Fiery Dragon Spear art. The advantage of the Wind Shadow Spear art was its speed. In this aspect, it was countered by Xing Liuyang's Heavenly Eye. If Yi Xing had used the Sky-Burning Sun Fist art, the power of his martial art would have increased a lot. However, Yi Xing knew that the Sky-Burning Sun Fist art was only of the highest grade of the spiritual level. Although it could be used to fight against Xing Luyang, it could not defeat him. If he wanted to defeat Xing Luyang, the only way was. Yi Xing's heart stirred. A beam of starlight shot into the sky. He had used the black hole astrology. Only by turning Xing Luyang blind would he be unable to block his elusive spear art. Even if Xing Luyang was stronger, he would still die. The black hole astrology hung high in the sky. Xing Luyang was suddenly plunged into a world of darkness. He could not even see his own fingers. Whoosh, Yi Xing moved like lightning. He became one with his spear and pushed his speed to the limit. He thrust his spear at Xing Luyang. Xing Luyang immediately felt that his life was in danger. Fiery Dragon Shield. Xing Luyang retracted the Fiery Dragon Spear art and protected it outside his body. At the same time, his Heavenly Eye was pushed to the limit. However, in the world of darkness, even the Heavenly Eye was greatly weakened. It was not until Yi Xing's spear was within 10 meters that Xing Luyang saw a faint shadow of the spear. Fortunately, the Fiery Dragon Shield protected this area. Xing Luyang used all his strength to push the defense of this area to the limit. Clang! Sparks flew. A large chunk of the Fiery Dragon Spear art's body was pierced, but it blocked Yi Xing's attack. Yi Xing immediately retracted his spear and retreated. Chapter 618. Xianxia. Xing Luyang shouted out loud, cold sweat dripping down his forehead. In this world of darkness, Yi Xing's spear skills were unpredictable. He had no confidence he could block Yi Xing's next spear strike. Moreover, in this world of darkness, no other martial artist would be able to help. Only Xianxia, a genius disciple of Dark Moon Temple whose strength was no weaker than his own, could. As Xing Luyang spoke, Xianxia had already attacked. His figure turned into a black line as he instantly shot towards Yi Xing. Two fingers shot out, forming a pitch-black astral finger. This pitch-black astral finger was extremely fast. Moreover, it rippled like waves, its power terrifying. This was Dark Moon Temple's profound-level martial art, the Profound Dark Finger. When Yi Xing fought, his eyes and ears were alert. When Xianxia attacked, Yi Xing was well aware of it. He thrust out his spear, raging flames raging as it collided with the Profound Dark Finger. Bang! A terrifying recoil struck out. Yi Xing was sent flying 100 meters away. Xianxia's strength wasn't any weaker than Xing Liuyang's. He wasn't his match in a head-on clash. Yi Xing's mortal body was powerful, so he wasn't injured. His aura covered Xianxia, forcing him into the world of darkness. What a strong power of darkness! Your astrology is extraordinary. Unfortunately, I also comprehend the power of darkness. This darkness cannot stop me. Xianxia sneered. Although he was trapped in the world of darkness and his vision was greatly affected, he could still see Yi Xing's figure. After comprehending the power of darkness, other martial artists naturally couldn't compare with him in the darkness. In particular, Xianxia had opened his martial Dao Heavenly Eye. His vision was enhanced and he was able to see through the darkness, locking onto Yi Xing's body. Whoosh, the void tore apart. The Profound Dark Finger once again shot towards Yi Xing. Although the world of darkness couldn't affect Xianxia, Yi Xing was like the ruler of this world of darkness. He could sense everything that was happening in this world of darkness. Yi Xing's mind was clear as day and his reaction speed was greatly increased. His figures split apart. Yi Xing dodged Xianxia's attack and shot his spear towards Xing Liang. In the world of darkness, Yi Xing found it difficult to deal with Xianxia. But Xing Luyang was completely trapped in the world of darkness. Ye's priority target. The Black Night Wind was surrounded by wind elemental energy. It was like a gust of wind, instantly blocking Yi Xing and Xing Liang. You're very fast, but I'm not slow either. You want to kill someone in front of me, Xian Yefeng? What wishful thinking. Xian Yefeng sneered and used the profound dark finger to push Yi Xing back. However, Yi Xing's reaction speed was too fast in the world of darkness. As long as he didn't take the initiative to attack Xing Luyang, Yi Xing wouldn't be able to catch Yi Xing's movements. Every attack would be dodged by Yi Xing. The rest of you, stay away and shoot. Xian Yefeng shouted. Xian Yefeng knew that if others were to rush over, they would be trapped in the world of darkness like him and Xing Luyang. They wouldn't be able to help. This world of darkness was clearly related to the black hole's star. However, the star's area of influence was limited. As long as one was far enough away, they wouldn't be affected. Therefore, Xian Yefeng ordered everyone to stay away and shoot. Among the disciples of Xingxiang Palace and Darkeen Palace, there were very few who cultivated archery. There was only one archery expert, and that was Xingxiang Palace's disciple, Yan Lan. Yan Lan's strength was on par with Ling Hu Feiyang's. However, she was much more terrifying than Ling Hu Feiyang because her archery was impossible to guard against. If Ling Hu Feiyang wanted to kill someone, he had to do it at close range. However, Yan Lan only needed to shoot an arrow from afar, and the target wouldn't even know who killed him. In this aspect, Yan Lan was completely comparable to the disciples of Darkeen Palace. She was good at assassination. As soon as Xian Yefeng's voice fell, the younger generation, including Yan Lan, distanced themselves from Yi Xing and retreated more than 10 li away. Yan Lan especially retreated 20 li away and took out a profound grade bow, the Earth Profound Bow. Profound grade bows could draw upon Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi. There was no need for arrows. Drawing the bow could condense Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi into an arrow. Ordinary arrows couldn't withstand Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi at all. Their power wasn't as strong as Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi arrows. Therefore, profound grade bows didn't need arrows. As for profound grade arrows, every one of them was as precious as a profound grade weapon. They were extremely rare. A profound grade bow paired with a profound grade arrow was naturally the strongest. However, very few people would be so wasteful. Using Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi arrows was enough. The other archers all had top-grade spirit bows in their hands. Only Yan Lan had a profound grade bow in her hands. In the blink of an eye, several archers, including Yan Lan, drew the bows in their hands and shot an arrow at Yi Xing, who was being chased by Xian Yefeng and looking for an opportunity to kill Xing Luyang, suddenly frowned and felt danger. There were several arrows flying towards him, but there was only one that made him feel threatened. It was an earth-yellow Yuan Qi arrow. Someone is using a profound grade bow. Yi Xing's heart stirred. He used his afterimage footwork to the limit and constantly changed his position. To be able to use a profound grade treasure bow, one must be an expert in the Tao of archery, and an expert in the Tao of archery could easily change the direction of their arrows. Yi Xing himself was an expert in the Tao of archery, so he was very clear in his heart that to avoid the arrows of an expert in the Tao of archery, he had to constantly change his direction, and he had to be fast. In the blink of an eye, Yi Xing had dodged 6 or 7 times. After he dodged 3 times, there was only one arrow left chasing after him. It was that earth-yellow Yuan Qi arrow. This Yuan Qi arrow changed direction 5 times before its power dissipated. It could be seen that the archer's attainments in archery had reached the level of 5 changes at will. With such high attainments in archery, coupled with a profound grade bow, even a mid-level venerable would feel danger when shot by a second-star venerable, let alone Yi Xing, who Yi Xing's killing intent instantly spread out, enveloping all the martial artists that were shooting arrows in the distance. In the blink of an eye, the few archers that were dozens of miles away from Yi Xing all fell into a world of darkness. However, Yan Lan, who was more than 20 miles away from Yi Xing, was an exception. It could be seen that the black hole astrology's range of influence was limited. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Yan Lan pulled back the Earth Profound Bow and shot out a second arrow. Because Yi Xing was dodging that arrow, he kept changing directions and neglected Xian Yifeng's existence. At this moment, Xian Yifeng seized the opportunity to attack. Dark profound finger force shot out one after another. Yi Xing was in the middle of dodging Xian Yifeng's pursuit when an arrow suddenly came and sealed off his path of retreat. In a hurry, he couldn't dodge. Although the afterimage footwork was exquisite, it still required Yi Xing to use it. Yi Xing was out of breath. How could he change direction 6 or 7 times in an instant? However, at this moment, he had to do it even if he couldn't. Yi Xing instantly took a deep breath. His figure separated again and changed direction, dodging the attack of the dark profound finger. However, this time, he couldn't change direction 6 or 7 times in an instant. He only changed direction 4 times before the earth-colored Yuan Qi arrow caught up to him. Yi Xing barely dodged the attack on his throat. His body suddenly rose up and the arrow hit his chest. Chapter 6:19. Yi Xing instantly spat out a mouthful of blood as his body was sent flying by the arrow. The power contained in the khaki-colored Yuan Qi arrow was too terrifying. Even a 4-star supremacy would be severely injured or even killed if struck by the arrow. The energy arrow did not penetrate Yi Xing's body. Instead, it was blocked by Yi Xing's black-grade protective inner armor. This was extremely fortunate. If not for the black-grade inner armor blocking the arrow, this arrow would have penetrated Yi Xing's body. Even if he did not die, he would be severely injured. However, although the inner armor blocked the energy arrow, the energy contained within the energy arrow still penetrated Yi Xing's body. This caused Yi Xing to be severely injured, causing him to instantly spit out a mouthful of blood. The energy within the khaki-colored origin Qi arrow was relentless, sending Yi Xing flying for several hundred meters before it finally dissipated. Several hundred meters away, Yi Xing spat out another mouthful of blood. The energy contained within the energy arrow was too sharp. It caused quite a bit of damage to his body, especially since the energy did not penetrate him all at once. Instead, it came in waves, maximizing the damage. Xian Yifeng was not in a hurry to attack. Yi Xing was already injured. From his point of view, he would not be able to cause any more trouble. With Yan Lan holding him back with her archery from afar, Xian Yifeng's close-range attacks completely restrained Yi Xing. He was unable to turn the situation around. Xian Yifeng sneered and said, "Kid, no matter how strong you are or how heaven-defying you are still an ant from an inferior continent. How dare you make an enemy out of us? You only have death awaiting you. You will die without a burial ground. Brother Yi, I'm afraid that both of us are going to die here today. How detestable. You and I are both top geniuses, yet we are going to die under the siege of these mediocre people." Feng Xiaoxiao's voice came from afar. Her tone was filled with unwillingness. Xing Liuyu and Feng Xiong's cultivation levels were higher than Feng Xiaoxiao's, but their powers were weaker than hers. However, when the two of them joined forces, they were able to unleash a power that was greater than 1+1. Feng Xiong's sealing technique had greatly weakened Feng Xiaoxiao's strength, making it difficult for her to withstand the Star Flow Feather's attack. She was already injured, and if it wasn't for the mystic middle-grade protective inner armor, she would have lost her life. However, after a prolonged battle, Feng Xiaoxiao would be exhausted sooner or later. The protective inner armor could only protect her body. Feng Xiaoxiao still had to rely on her sword techniques to defend herself. Once she was exhausted, her life would be in danger. Yi Xing stood in the air and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His aura was still fierce as he said loudly, "I won't die. Brother Feng, you won't die either. The ones who will die today will be these mediocre people. Everyone from Celestial Elephant Palace and Dark Moon Palace will die." Haha. Xian Yifeng laughed loudly and said, "Kid, are you talking in your sleep right now? What other tricks do you have up your sleeves? Show us." The disciples from Celestial Elephant Palace and Dark Moon Palace sneered. Yi Xing had already spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood and his injuries were not light. In their eyes, he was an arrow at the end of its flight and a turtle in a jar. He did not even have any hope of escaping, so how could he still have the strength to kill them? However, Feng Xiaoxiao had talked to Yixing before and had some understanding of Yixing. In her impression, Yixing was not someone who would talk in his sleep. Feng Xiaoxiao believed that Yixing must have something to rely on if he dared to say such a thing. Her confidence in him was instantly boosted. Feng Xiaoxiao shouted, "Brother Yi, I believe you. However, can the demon Sealing Valley's disciples also be included in the dead?" Yixing replied loudly, "Today, I will go on a killing spree. Whoever Brother Feng wants to die, they will die." As he spoke, Yixing activated the divine dragon blood essence in his body. Immediately, golden dragon scales grew out from Yixing's body one after another. Moreover, 2 horns grew out of Yixing's head and a dragon tail grew out of his back. The golden dragon scales on his body shone brilliantly, and his hands and feet turned into golden dragon claws. He revealed a peerless and terrifying aura that made people's hearts palpitate. It was a dragon's aura. Divine dragons were innately divine creatures and possessed divinity. Therefore, dragon's aura was equivalent to divine might. It was an instinctive pressure that came from a higher life form. Everyone present was an astral-reaching venerable. Compared to mortals and even ordinary martial artists, they were high and mighty. Every movement they made contained a terrifying pressure. However, in front of a dragon's aura with divinity, the venerables felt no different from mortals and ordinary martial artists in front of a venerable. Of course, pressure was only pressure. It did not have any actual attacking power. It could only boost one's momentum. The true victor would depend on one's strength. However, this dragon's aura was enough to make all the martial artists present tremble in fear. What is this? Why do I feel like I'm looking at a divine dragon? All the martial artists' hearts trembled as they cried out in alarm. Xian Yifeng's expression changed greatly. He pointed at Yixing and shouted, "You, what exactly did you experience in the divine dragon forbidden land?" Yixing's golden dragon eyes swept over the martial artists of Star Elephant Palace and Dark Moon Palace. He said coldly, "All of you must die." After transforming into a dragon, Yixing lost a bit of his humanity and gained a bit of his draconic nature. Although dragons were honorable, they were still beasts. They were merely divine beasts. Dragons' killing and ferocious nature were extremely powerful. At this moment, Yixing was emitting a torrential aura. His killing intent filled the sky. Some half-step venerables who had yet to step into astral-reaching realm felt their legs go soft at the sight of Yixing. They had not gone through the tempering of thunder calamity. They simply could not bear the ferocious aura emitted by Yixing. As for the venerables who had gone through the thunder calamity, they had seen the boundless thunder calamity. Although they felt their hearts palpitate at the ferocious aura emitted by Yixing, they could still bear it. Xian Yifeng felt Yixing's aura and knew that after transforming into a dragon, Yixing's strength had increased by a lot. It would be hard for him to resist. Only Yan Lan was holding him back from behind. If he were to face Yixing head-on, his life would be in danger. Xian Yifeng thought to himself, "I need more people to join hands and attack this person." Xian Yifeng's thoughts turned as he shouted, "This person is no longer human. His body must have been taken over by a monster from the divine dragon forbidden land. His ferocious nature has erupted and he will kill all humans. Everyone join hands and kill him. Otherwise, you will all die, all die." There were a total of 7 major forces martial artists present. There were only a few Big Dipper Sword sect disciples left. Feng Xiaoxiao was besieged by Xing Liuyu and Feng Xiong, while the others were held back by Demon Sealing Valley's disciples. Star Elephant Palace and Dark Moon Palace's disciples were besieging Yixing. Apart from them, there were also disciples from Giant Spirit Sect, Golden Lion Sect, and Moon Severing Sect. Xian Yifeng's words indeed made the martial artists present somewhat worried. Right now, Yixing was emitting a torrential aura. It was truly frightening. And fear was a major factor in people's killing intent. Because they were afraid of snakes, once there was an opportunity to kill a snake, they would definitely not miss it. However, if the snake was too big, the chances of killing it would be low, and the chances of being eaten by the snake would be high. Perhaps no one would dare to attack. Chapter 620. As Xianxia's voice fell, several demon-sealing valley disciples that hadn't yet attacked were the first to rush forwards. As for the disciples of the other three sects, many of them were tempted, but they didn't move. Instead, they watched from the sidelines. Demon-sealing Valley had joined forces with Star Elephant Palace and Dark Een Temple. If one side suffered, the other would suffer. As for the disciples of the Great Spirit Sect, Golden Lion Sect, and Moon Severing Sect, they had to wait and see if there was a chance they could kill Yixing. If there was a chance, they didn't mind joining forces to take the life of a martial artist from a lower continent. After all, this martial artist could transform into a dragon. That struck fear into their hearts. As the demon-sealing Valley disciples rushed forwards, Yixing also moved. His golden dragon eyes locked onto Xianxia and his figure flashed as he rushed towards him. Whoosh! At this time, in the distance, Yanlan drew her bow once more and shot out an earth-yellow origin energy arrow. This time, Yixing didn't dodge the origin energy arrow. Instead, he reached out a hand and grabbed it. Gotcha! The earth origin energy arrow was crushed to pieces by the golden dragon claw. Whoosh! At this time, Xianxia used the dark mystic finger and rushed towards Yixing. At the same time, he drew backwards. With a flick of the golden dragon claw, the dark mystic finger was instantly shattered. Yixing's figure flashed like a golden light, arriving in front of Xianxia with unbelievable speed. There was a tearing sound in the void. A golden claw reached down towards Xianxia's head. Xianxia lost all courage. He raised a palm towards the sky to block the golden dragon claw. At the same time, his other hand grasped a black dagger and thrust it towards Yixing's heart. Gotcha! As Xianxia's palm collided with the dragon claw, the sound of bones breaking rang out. At the same time, the black dagger that was thrusting towards Yixing's heart was caught by another golden dragon claw. Die! Yixing shouted out loud. The dragon claw that was aimed at Xianxia's head continued to descend, instantly causing it to burst open. The disciples of the Great Spirit Sect, Golden Lion Sect, and Moon Severing Sect weren't affected by the black hole, so they could clearly see the scene of Xianxia's head exploding open. They all lost all courage and hurriedly retreated, distancing themselves from Yixing. None of them dared to rush forwards to throw their lives away. As for the demon-sealing Valley disciples who had rushed forward, they were enveloped by Yixing's killing intent. Just like the disciples of Celestial Elephant Palace and Dark Een Palace, they fell into a world of darkness. Only the distant Yanlan was not in the world of darkness. What's going on? Xianxia? Xianxia? Xing Luyang shouted. In the world of darkness, his martial Dao heavenly eye could only see around 10 meters around him. He didn't know that Xianxia had already died. Xian, ti to his, ti xians to xian to. Font, teet xian ti teet, as left himt, ti left, as have a terrifying sense of impending doom flashed through Xianxia's mind. Just as he was about to retreat, he felt a sharp pain in his head. A golden dragon claw had swept past his head, causing it to burst open. First, Xianxia had gone silent, and then Xianxia. This caused the disciples of the Dark Moon Palace, Demon-Sealing Valley, and Star-Severing Sect to tremble in fear. Not all of the Dark Een Palace's disciples had comprehended the grand momentum of darkness. Even the few disciples who had comprehended the grand momentum of darkness were inferior to Xianxia and Yunxuan. Only within a certain range would one be able to see a golden figure. In the eyes of the disciples of the Great Spirit Sect, Golden Lion Sect, and Moon Severing Sect in the distance, Yixing had already turned into a streak of golden light. Every time he passed by a martial artist, that martial artist's head would burst open and they would die instantly. Only when a martial artist's head burst open would Yixing's figure pause for a moment, allowing others to see him clearly. The rest of the time, he was a golden beam of light, his speed inconceivably fast. In merely a few breaths of time, more than 10 martial artists had already fallen. All of their heads had burst open, killed in one blow. The speed of death was too fast. The fallen martial artists didn't even have time to scream. This scene fell into the eyes of the martial artists in the distance, causing them to be incomparably terrified. Yen Lan watched as the heads of the Dark Moon Palace disciples burst open one after another. Her heart was bleeding, but more than that, she was terrified. She drew her earth-profound bow and shot a few more arrows at Yixing. However, without exception, every Earth Yuan Qi arrow was easily destroyed by Yixing. After transforming into his dragon form, Yixing's strength had increased greatly, reaching a level where even 4-star venerables couldn't contend against him. Adding on the black hole astral form, which caused the martial artists to fall into a world of darkness, killing people was like cutting grass. Even if the majority of the martial artists killed by him had already reached the astral reaching realm and were venerables, and even some venerables had the ability to challenge those with higher realms, at this moment, before Yixing, their lives were like grass. As the golden dragon claw swept across, anyone's head would burst open, instantly losing their life. Brother Feng, you stall Feng Xiaoxiao for now. I'll go kill that brat. Otherwise, all the disciples of our 3 sects will be killed by him. In the distance, Xing Liuyu yelled and immediately gave up on Feng Xiaoxiao, turning around and flying towards Yixing. Xing Luyang had already lost his life, and Linghu Feiyang had also died. There were also a few Dark Moon Palace disciples whose heads had burst open. Xing Liuyu saw this, and his eyes were about to split open, his fury soaring to the heavens. Stop! Xing Liuyu yelled, if you have the guts to fight me, I'll tear you to shreds. At this moment, Yixing's dragon nature had the upper hand. His ferocious aura was unparalleled, and he was in the mood to kill. How could he pay attention to Xing Liuyu? Just as Xing Liuyu was speaking, a few more martial artists' heads burst open, losing their lives. Among them was a Dark Moon Palace disciple. Die! Die! Xing Liuyu roared furiously. The golden feather mystic sword in his hand shone with a dazzling golden light as he executed the metal elemental radiance. A golden sword energy slashed towards Yixing's back from several miles away. Xing Liuyu was also a monstrous genius. His combat strength was already heaven-defying. When he was a 2-star venerable, he could already defeat a 4-star venerable. Now that Xing Liuyu had broken through to 3-star venerable, his strength had reached the level of a 5-star venerable. He was on the same level as Feng Xiaoxiao. How terrifying would his attack be when he was enraged? As the sword energy approached, Yixing immediately sensed danger. He clenched his dragon claws, turned around, and punched out. Golden light bloomed from his dragon fist and collided with the golden sword energy, creating a deafening sound. The sword energy came from afar, and its strength was not enough. It was dispersed by Yixing's punch. However, Yixing could feel the power contained in the sword energy. It was extremely powerful. If they had clashed at close range, he might not have gained the upper hand. Xing Liuyu's attack had successfully attracted Yixing's attention. Yixing's killing intent instantly enveloped him, causing Xing Liuyu to fall into a world of darkness. Then, with a flash of golden light, Yixing charged toward Xing Liuyu at lightning speed. Heaven's Eye open. Xing Liuyu opened his martial path Heaven's Eye. Golden light bloomed, reflecting the brilliance of the metal-type astrology in the sky. The metal-type astrology illuminated an area of dozens of meters around Xing Liuyu. However, the golden light from the Heaven's Eye could see beyond 100 meters. Chapter 621. Xing Liuyu's strength was not something that Xing Luyang and Xian Yifeng could compare to. Yixing's black hole astrology could not suppress him. 100 meters was a short distance for a venerable, but Xing Liuyu was not an ordinary person. 100 meters was enough for him to react. When Yixing was within 100 meters of Xing Liuyu, he was instantly discovered by Xing Liuyu, and a golden sword energy slashed toward him. Yixing clenched his dragon claws and threw out a punch as well. Their attacks collided once again. Boom! There was a deafening explosion. Yixing felt his arm tremble. Xing Liuyu's strength was indeed terrifying. His attack power was not inferior to his. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Yixing's figure flickered like golden light. He was extremely fast as he changed directions and launched a terrifying attack at Xing Liuyu, throwing out punch after punch. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, Xing Liuyu stood still. His ears were erect, and his martial Dao heavenly eye scanned his surroundings. The golden sword energy was always able to block Yi Xing's dragon fists and launch a counterattack. However, Yi Xing had the advantage of the black hole astrology. In the dark world, Yi Xing could sense everything. His reaction speed had reached an astonishing level. In the world of darkness, Yi Xing could fight with martial artists who were stronger than him. If he hadn't transformed into a dragon, Xianxia wouldn't have been affected by the world of darkness, but he wouldn't have been able to do anything to Yi Xing. He would have needed Yan Lan's help with her archery from afar to have any hope of defeating Yi Xing. Now, Xing Liuyu's strength was comparable to Yi Xing's. Yi Xing's speed was extremely fast, and he appeared and disappeared unpredictably in the dark world. Naturally, he had the upper hand. Xing Liuyu was extremely sullen. He thought that with his combat power as a 5-star venerable, it would be easy to come back and kill Yi Xing. Who would have thought that Yi Xing was only a 1-star venerable, but his strength had reached such a heaven-defying level. This was even more heaven-defying than when Feng Xiaoxiao had been a 1-star venerable. While Xing Liuyu was admiring Yi Xing's strength, Yi Xing was also admiring Xing Liuyu's strength. He was now using the power of the godly dragon essence blood and emitting the dragon's might. His strength was heaven-defying, and he was in the dark world of the black hole astrology. No matter what, he had a great advantage. However, no matter how fast his attacks were or how special the angles were, they were always blocked by Star Flow Feather. It was clear that Star Flow Feather's reaction was outstanding. In the starry crescent land, Xing Liuyu was overshadowed by Feng Xiaoxiao. In fact, he was also a demonic genius. Unless Yi Xing had overwhelming strength, it was basically impossible for him to kill Xing Liuyu. Their fists and swords collided fiercely. Soon, they had exchanged dozens of blows. Although Xing Liuyu was at a disadvantage, his defense was very stable. The situation did not take a turn for the worse. Yi Xing was still unable to do anything to him. "Brother Xing, hurry up, otherwise I won't be able to hold him back." Feng Xiong's anxious shout could be heard from afar. Previously, Feng Xiong and Xing Liuyu had joined forces to suppress Feng Xiaoxiao. Now, he was fighting Feng Xiaoxiao alone. Although his sealing technique could suppress Feng Xiaoxiao's strength, as the battle dragged on, he was finding it increasingly difficult to hold on. "Come over right now," Xing Liuyu shouted. His eyes were bloodshot as he shouted, "Kid, you brat! It's indeed beyond my expectations that you can force me to this point. However, you still have to die." As soon as he finished speaking, Xing Liuyu's entire body was suffused with a layer of blood-red light. His strength skyrocketed. Xing Liuyu had used a secret technique, the blazing blood technique. He burned his essence blood in exchange for great strength. However, this increase in strength was temporary. Once the time was up, he would become very weak. He had not used this secret technique when he was dealing with Feng Xiaoxiao. Instead, he had joined forces with Feng Xiong to slowly entangle Feng Xiaoxiao until she died of exhaustion. Now, he could no longer care so much. Although he could still block Yi Xing's attack, once Feng Xiong was defeated, he would have to face the combined attack of Feng Xiaoxiao and Yi Xing when Feng Xiong came over. There was no doubt that he would die. The only thing he could do now was to kill Yi Xing and then kill Feng Xiaoxiao when the blazing blood technique exploded. Only then would he have a chance to live. Bang! The fist and sword collided. With a loud explosion, Yi Xing's body was sent flying backward. After using the blazing blood technique, Xing Liuyu's strength had more than doubled. "Die!" Xing Liuyu roared angrily. His body shot forward like an arrow. While Yi Xing was sent flying, Xing Liuyu used the ultimate move of the metal radiant sword and attacked fiercely. He wanted to kill Yi Xing in one blow. At this moment, Yi Xing had nowhere to run. In the face of Xing Liuyu's terrifying sword energy, he had no other choice but to face it head-on. In an instant, Yi Xing's body made a strange movement. He used the Dragon Clan's martial technique that he had learned in the Divine Dragon Forbidden Land. A terrifying force was born from Yi Xing's body. Clang! Just as Xing Liuyu's sword energy was about to behead Yi Xing, a dragon claw suddenly attacked. With a loud explosion, the sword energy was blocked. What? Xing Liuyu was shocked. At this moment, he had used the blazing blood technique. His strength was even stronger than Feng Xiaoxiao's. However, his ultimate move was blocked by Yi Xing's claw. Metal Radiance Sword. With a roar, Xing Liuyu used the ultimate move of the Metal Radiant Sword. The Metal Radiant Sword's attack power was terrifying. Even a mystic-grade low-grade inner armor could not block it. Yi Xing used the second move of the Dragon Clan's martial technique. The strength in his body increased again. His dragon claw formed a fist and blasted out. An ear-piercing sound rang out and sparks flew. Xing Liuyu's Metal Radiant Sword was blocked again. Xing Liuyu's eyes widened in disbelief. He continued to use the Metal Radiant Sword to slash at Shi Xing's waist. Third move of the Dragon Clan's martial technique. Yi Xing's movements changed. It was very smooth. The strength in his body continued to increase. A golden dragon fist blasted out and instantly dispersed the sword energy. Moreover, Yi Xing's strength was not exhausted. Instead, he pushed Xing Liuyu back a step and disrupted Xing Liuyu's attack rhythm. Fourth move of the Dragon Clan's martial technique. Yi Xing took a step forward and took the opportunity to counterattack. When he used the fourth move, its power was even stronger. Boom! Xing Liuyu used the Metal Radiant Sword to block it. The sword energy was instantly dispersed. The terrifying power hit him and forced him to retreat. His eyes were filled with shock. Yi Xing was getting stronger as the battle went on. Fifth move of the Dragon Clan's martial technique. Sixth move. Seventh move. Yi Xing had the upper hand. His attacks were endless. He used one move after another of the Dragon Clan's martial techniques. His strength increased rapidly. Xing Liuyu was forced to retreat and spit out blood. Finally, when Yi Xing used the seventh move, Xing Liuyu could no longer block it. The Metal Radiant Sword in his hand flew out. The golden dragon fist blasted forward and hit Xing Liuyu's head. Bang! Xing Liuyu's head exploded. He was dead. A monstrous genius of a generation had fallen. His life ended in the extraterritorial Starland. In the distance, the martial artists of the Great Spirit Sect, Golden Lion Sect, and Moon Severing Sect were dumbfounded. They could not believe it and their hearts were thumping. After half a month of adjustment, he's starting to work hard. Chapter 622. Whoosh! The black hole vortex spun wildly, producing a terrifying devouring power. Between Yi Xing's eyebrows, the flame of destiny continued to grow. It went from 7 blue flames to 8, then 9 before stopping. Xing Liuyu's destiny was a 9-star sovereign destiny. Now that Yi Xing had completely devoured it, Yi Xing's destiny evolved to a 9-star blue destiny. He was only 1 step away from the quasi-divine blue destiny. Yi Xing only paused for a moment after devouring the destiny. Then, under the shocked and puzzled gazes of the martial artists in the distance, Yi Xing began to move again. Whoosh 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 whoosh. Every time he moved, a golden light flashed. The disciples of Astral Elephant Palace, Darkeen Palace, and Demon Ceiling Valley who were trapped in the world of darkness died one after another. In just a dozen breaths of time, besides Yanlan, who had already fled when Xing Liuyu died, all the disciples of the 3 sects who were trapped in the world of darkness died. On the other side, Feng Xiaoxiao and Feng Xiong's battle was nearing its end. Feng Xiong had suffered many injuries and was not far from death. Whoosh! Yi Xing withdrew his astrology and chased after the fleeing Yanlan. He was like a beam of golden light that cut through the sky. His speed was more than twice as fast as Yanlan's. Not long after, a blue light streaked across the sky. Yi Xing had returned. He had returned to his human form and the azure cloud wings were spread out behind him. A treasure bow had appeared in his hand. Mystic rank treasure bow, Earth Mystic Bow. This bow originally belonged to Yanlan, but now it belonged to Yi Xing. By the time Yi Xing returned, Feng Xiaoxiao and Feng Xiong's battle had already ended. A sword light flashed past Feng Xiong's throat, piercing a bloody hole. Why did it have to be like this? I hate it. Feng Xiong clutched his throat as blood flowed out uncontrollably. He spoke with great difficulty, his eyes filled with unwillingness. Feng Xiaoxiao's growth was something that neither Demon Sealing Valley nor Feng Xiong wanted to see. However, the Demon Sealing Valley did not order their disciples to kill Feng Xiaoxiao in the extraterritorial Starland. The reason why Feng Xiong led the Demon Sealing Valley disciples to kill the Big Dipper Sword sect disciples was his personal decision. He felt that this decision would only benefit the Demon Sealing Valley. This was because when Feng Xiaoxiao grew up, she would definitely be invincible in the Starry Crescent Land. This would affect the supreme status of the Demon Sealing Valley. As for Xingliuyu, although he was also a monstrous genius, he was not as monstrous as Feng Xiaoxiao. In the future, he would at most become an overlord of the Starry Crescent Land. He would not be able to unify the Starry Crescent Land, so he would not be able to affect the supreme status of the Demon Sealing Valley. Therefore, Feng Xiong decided to join forces with Xingliuyu to eliminate Feng Xiaoxiao in the extraterritorial Star Continent. Originally, this matter was bound to succeed, but who would have thought that it would be ruined by a cultivator from an inferior continent? Of course, Feng Xiong was unwilling to accept this. It wasn't that he had misjudged Feng Xiaoxiao, but rather that he hadn't anticipated fate. As Feng Xiong fell to the ground, Feng Xiaoxiao's body swayed and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He used the mysterious breeze sword to support himself and stabilized his body. Feng Xiaoxiao was already injured under the joint attack of Xingliuyu and Feng Xiong. He had managed to escape with great difficulty, but when everyone was teleported to the Black Tortoise Jade Wall, he had fallen into the hands of Xingliuyu and Feng Xiong. His injuries had worsened under the joint attack of the two. After Xingliuyu retreated, Feng Xiaoxiao fought Feng Xiong alone. He had been suppressing the injuries in his body all this time. It was only when he killed Feng Xiong that he heaved a sigh of relief. He could no longer control the surging blood in his body and spat it out. "Senior brother Feng." The disciples of the Big Dipper Sword sect ran over. There were 7 of them in total. A total of 14 genius disciples entered the Big Dipper Sword sect. Other than Feng Xiong, only 7 of them had survived. The other 6 had fallen at the hands of the disciples of Celestial Elephant Palace, Dark Moon Palace, and Demon Sealing Valley. These 7 were relatively strong. They had only survived because they had formed the Big Dipper Sword formation. Feng Xiaoxiao swallowed a profound healing pill and adjusted his breathing for a few breaths. He nodded at the 7 of them and looked at Yi Xing, who was walking over. Feng Xiaoxiao said, "Brother Yi, thank you so much this time. Fortunately, you were here. Otherwise I, Feng Xiaoxiao, and the disciples of my Big Dipper Sword sect would have died here today." Feng Xiaoxiao then introduced Yi Xing to the 7 disciples of the Big Dipper Sword sect. "This is Brother Yi Xing. He saved our lives. Don't underestimate him just because he is a cultivator from an inferior continent. You all saw how strong he is with your own eyes. He is not someone we can compare to." "Thank you, Brother Yi." The 7 of them cupped their fists and bowed slightly to Yi Xing. Yi Xing had just single-handedly annihilated all the disciples of the 3 major sects, Star Elephant Palace, Dark Moon Palace, and Demon Sealing Valley, except for Feng Xiong. All the cultivators present knew how strong he was. How could the 7 of them dare to underestimate Yi Xing? It was more likely that they were afraid of Yi Xing. Yi Xing nodded at the 7 of them. His gaze then fell on Feng Xiaoxiao as he smiled. "Brother Feng, you are being too polite. If you didn't save me back then, I wouldn't be alive right now. Since we each saved our own lives, we don't owe each other anything." "Ah." Feng Xiaoxiao walked in front of Yi Xing and patted Yi Xing on the shoulder. She said excitedly, "I thought that you would be lucky if you could escape this calamity by hiding in the Forbidden Divine Dragon Land. I didn't expect that you would have such a good fortune in the Forbidden Divine Dragon Land. Ha! You looked like a dragon just now. Your strength is too abnormal. I've always been proud of my combat prowess, but when I was a 1-star venerable, I couldn't compare with you at all." "Abnormal? Too abnormal?" Yi Xing blushed with shame. "You patted my shoulder and kept saying that I was abnormal." These words were really horrifying. Yi Xing chuckled and said, "You only see the good side of me now. You don't know the danger I faced in the Forbidden Divine Dragon Land. I almost turned into that thing and couldn't come back. I almost lost my consciousness and became a monster forever. Fortunately, I guarded my glabella and maintained my consciousness. In the end, I was able to control this power. When I think about how I almost turned into a monster forever, I feel a lingering fear. However, I gained a lot. I didn't go through those dangers in vain. As Yi Xing spoke, he suddenly changed the topic and asked, "Brother Feng, what happened to us just now? Why were we teleported here?" Feng Xiaoxiao's gaze turned to the huge jade wall and said, "This is the Black Tortoise Jade Wall. If a cultivator observes it carefully, they can comprehend black-level martial arts. When the extraterritorial star land is about to close, all the cultivators will be teleported here. This is the usual practice." The Black Tortoise Jade Wall? Yi Xing looked at the smooth jade wall and said, "Brother Feng, for the 7 major forces of the Starry Crescent Land, is there a lack of black-level martial arts? This Black Tortoise Jade Wall is of no use to you, right?" Feng Xiaoxiao waved her hand and said, "Brother Yi, you are wrong. The martial arts comprehended from the Black Tortoise Jade Wall are not simple. When a cultivator observes the Black Tortoise Jade Wall, they do not learn any martial arts. Instead, they comprehend the martial arts themselves. The martial arts that they comprehend are naturally compatible with them. This is something that other martial arts cannot compare to." Chapter 623. Only now did Yi Xing realize what Feng Xiaoxiao had said. Looking at the Black Tortoise Jade Wall wasn't about learning the Black Tortoise, but comprehending the Black Tortoise on one's own. Comprehending a martial art on one's own was an extremely difficult task. Comprehending a martial art was equivalent to creating a new martial art. Only monstrous geniuses with heaven-defying comprehension abilities could create a new martial art after spending a large amount of time and effort. With Yi Xing's comprehension abilities and heaven-defying superbrain, creating a new martial art wasn't impossible, but it would require a large amount of time and effort. Yi Xing could do it, but that didn't mean other martial artists could do it. However, this Black Tortoise Jade Wall could allow so many people to comprehend their own martial art. This function was too abnormal. In an instant, Yi Xing's view of the Black Tortoise Jade Wall changed. This was a treasure, a priceless treasure. "Young Master Yi, may I ask, can we comprehend martial arts in front of the Black Tortoise Jade Wall?" At this moment, a 3-star venerable flew over from afar and spoke to Yi Xing respectfully. This person was a disciple of the Great Spirit sect. His cultivation was the highest among the disciples of the Great Spirit sect, Golden Lion sect, and Moon Severing sect. He was recommended by the disciples of the 3 sects to ask for Yi Xing's opinion. In reality, the Black Tortoise Jade Wall didn't belong to Yi Xing. If they wanted to comprehend it, they could. It had nothing to do with Yi Xing. However, Yi Xing had just exterminated the disciples of the Celestial Body Palace, Dark Moon Palace, and Demon Ceiling Valley. His might was too great, causing the disciples of the 3 sects to be shocked and fearful. They didn't dare to ignore him. Therefore, they recommended someone to ask for Yi Xing's opinion. Yi Xing found it funny. He didn't expect them to be so afraid of him. They even came to ask for his opinion on comprehending the Black Tortoise Jade Wall. Yi Xing laughed mischievously and said, "Among you people, there were also some who had bad intentions towards me. Now that I didn't deal with you, you should be celebrating. You still want to comprehend the Black Tortoise Jade Wall?" The 3-star venerable's expression stiffened. This was the Black Tortoise Jade Wall. Comprehending it would allow one to comprehend their own martial arts. This was a great fortune that could only be encountered and not saved. The extraterritorial starland opened once every 30 years, but only geniuses under the age of 25 could enter. This meant that not all geniuses had the chance to enter the extraterritorial starland. Therefore, entering the Outer Realm Starland and having a chance to comprehend the Black Tortoise Jade Wall was a kind of fortune in itself. The disciples of the Giant Spirit sect and the other 2 sects had come to ask for Yi Xing's opinion to show their respect. This was giving Yi Xing enough face, and Yi Xing wouldn't stop them from comprehending. They didn't expect that Yi Xing would really not let them comprehend the Black Tortoise Jade Wall. This caused the disciples of the giant spirit sect and the other two sects to be stunned. What should he do now? Since Yi Xing had spoken, they didn't dare to disobey. They had all witnessed Yi Xing's strength with their own eyes. He alone was enough to wipe out everyone from the three sections. However, after entering the extraterritorial starland with such great difficulty and obtaining such a great opportunity, he didn't want to comprehend the black tortoise jade wall. Wasn't this heartbreaking? How could they be willing to accept this? Feng Xiaoxiao looked at Yi Xing strangely and was slightly surprised. She thought to herself, Yi Xing doesn't seem like such a narrow-minded person. At this moment, Yi Xing laughed and said, I'm just joking with you. You can comprehend it however you want. This black tortoise jade wall isn't mine anyway. Thank you, young Master Yi. Thank you, young Master Yi. The three-star venerable was stunned at first, but he quickly reacted. He was overjoyed and repeatedly thanked Yi Shiwen before retreating. Feng Xiaoxiao finally understood and said with a smile, So Brother Yi was just joking. You scared them to death. Yi Xing smiled and said, I wasn't joking. Among them, there were indeed quite a few who wanted to attack me. However, they didn't dare to because I was too powerful. If I wasn't that powerful, they might have charged at me. I took the opportunity to scare them a little. Consider it a small punishment for them. I warned them not to harbor any thoughts that they shouldn't have. Feng Xiaoxiao thought about it and agreed. She said, Only the strong can make others fear and respect you. Therefore, all cultivators have the same goal. They all want to become stronger and stand at the peak of the martial way. Only then will they not be oppressed by others. The weak either act according to the mood of the strong or be crushed by the strong. In the world of the martial way, the strong are revered. That's how it is. Yi Xing's eyes were filled with determination as he said, Therefore, Brother Feng, we want to be strong enough to stand at the peak of the martial way. Feng Xiaoxiao nodded and her eyes were filled with determination as well. Yes, we want to be strong enough to stand at the peak of the martial way. Yi Xing, let's start comprehending the black tortoise jade wall. We were teleported here for only a day. After a day, we will be teleported out of the extraterritorial starland. Okay. Yi Xing smiled faintly and said, Brother Feng, we may not be able to say goodbye in a day. However, one day I will go to the starry crescent land. Feng Xiaoxiao smiled and said, I will be waiting for you in the starry crescent land. With Brother Ye's potential, you will be a dazzling genius in the starry crescent land. Perhaps, we will be able to venture to a high-class continent in the future. A high-class continent? That was a continent with a true god. Yi Xing smiled. He also looked forward to the day when he could venture to a high-class continent. He would work hard for this goal. Yi Xing and Feng Xiaoxiao sat down separately and looked at the black tortoise jade wall. They focused their minds and began comprehending it. The black tortoise jade wall was extremely smooth. At first glance, there was nothing on it. However, if one focused and looked at it carefully, different scenes would appear on the smooth jade wall in the eyes of different martial artists. In Yi Xing's eyes, 3 scenes appeared on the black tortoise jade wall. One was wind, one was fire, and the last was darkness. These were the 3 major forces of heaven and earth that Yi Xing cultivated. Obviously, the scenes on the black tortoise jade wall were based on each martial artist's understanding of the major forces of heaven and earth. Different martial artists had different understandings of the major forces of heaven and earth. Even if it was the same major force of heaven and earth, different martial artists had different understandings of it. Yi Xing stared at the black tortoise jade wall with full concentration. Finally, the 3 different attributes on the black tortoise jade wall transformed into 3 spear moves. The first move was of the fire attribute and had the characteristics of fire. It was violent and powerful. The second move was of the wind attribute and had the characteristics of wind. It was swift and fast. The third move was of the darkness attribute and had the characteristics of darkness. It was engulfing and had a strong suction force. These 3 spear moves were deeply imprinted in Yi Xing's mind. These 3 black class spear moves were unable to be categorized into specific grades. They would become stronger as Yi Xing's understanding of the major forces of heaven and earth increased. In the end, they would reach the power of a top-grade black-class martial art. Yi Xing did not know how abnormal it was for him to be able to comprehend 3 martial arts moves on the Black Tortoise Jade Wall. However, his comprehension did not end with these 3 spear moves. Chapter 624. When Yi Xing had completely comprehended the 3 spear moves, the scene on the Black Tortoise Jade Wall changed once again. Originally, the 3 different attributes of wind, fire, and darkness were divided into 3 regions, each occupying a part of the Black Tortoise Jade Wall. However, right now, these 3 attributes were all fusing together in the middle. In the end, the 3 attributes formed a bow and arrow, which turned into a set of archery martial arts. Yi Xing was moved. It seemed that the comprehension on the Black Tortoise Jade Wall was not only related to the martial artist's comprehension of the heaven and earth, but also related to the comprehension of weapons. With a weapon in hand, there were also different kinds of techniques. The higher the technique, the more powerful the weapon would be. In fact, when one's technique reached the peak, it would cause a qualitative change and could also trigger the heaven and earth Dao. Therefore, the sword had its sword Dao, the blade had its blade Dao, the spear had its spear Dao, and the arrow had its arrow Dao. Yi Xing's comprehension of weapons, spear Dao, and arrow Dao were more profound. Therefore, the martial arts he had comprehended on the Black Tortoise Jade Wall were spear arts and arrow arts respectively. If it was a sword Dao expert, then the martial arts he had comprehended would naturally be sword arts, while a blade Dao expert's martial arts would be blade arts. Different martial artists would comprehend different martial arts on the Black Tortoise Jade Wall. Moreover, Yi Xing's mastery of arrow Dao was even higher than his mastery of spear Dao. Among the astral-reaching realm archers, Yi Xing's mastery of arrow Dao was definitely at the top, excluding those high-level reverend lords. It was precisely because Yi Xing's mastery of arrow Dao was higher than his spear Dao that the archery martial arts he had comprehended would be more powerful. The 3 spear techniques each had 3 different attributes, while the archery technique was a fusion of the 3 attributes. It was impossible for Yi Xing to perform the 3 spear techniques at the same time and fuse the 3 attributes together. It could be seen that the archery technique fused with the 3 attributes was much more powerful than the 3 spear techniques. Yi Xing was fully focused as he carefully read the archery martial arts on the Black Tortoise Jade Wall. This set of archery martial arts was not strictly an archery skill because there were also close combat moves. The bow on the Black Tortoise Jade Wall was sometimes blazing with flames, revealing a terrifying might. Sometimes it was like a wind blade, fast as lightning, and sometimes it turned into a black shadow, possessing an extremely strong absorption force. This close combat technique was similar to the 3 spear techniques. The 3 attributes were separated and each had their own characteristics. However, when an arrow appeared on the bow, there was a qualitative change. The arrow pierced through the air. It had the tyrannical power of the fire and the sharpness and speed of the wind. The 2 were not simply a combination, but a fusion. The wind helped the fire, and the fire increased the speed of the wind. 1 + 1 was greater than 2. At the same time, the arrow also contained the dark attribute. Originally, the speed of the wind would tear through the void, and the violent fire would emit a surging aura. The moment the arrow left the bowstring, it would immediately be sensed. However, with the dark attribute, although the arrow contained a violent force, the speed at which it pierced through the air was silent, making it impossible to guard against. This was a true killing weapon. What a terrifying archery skill! Yi Xing sighed. After learning this archery skill, if he were to secretly attack, it would not be difficult to kill opponents stronger than him. With this archery skill, if he were to secretly attack, it would be enough to unknowingly kill his target. Even if he were to attack directly, the arrow would be silent, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. It would be very difficult to guard against, and it was very possible to kill an expert stronger than him. Yi Xing focused his mind and comprehended the archery martial arts on the Black Tortoise Jade Wall. He deeply imprinted it in his mind, making it a part of him. This set of archery martial arts was originally formed by the Black Tortoise Jade Wall according to Yi Xing's own conditions. Naturally, Yi Xing would be able to completely comprehend it. All the martial artists were completely focused on the black tortoise jade wall. This kind of opportunity was hard to come by, and they were all afraid of wasting a moment. Time slowly passed as he comprehended. Yi Xing used the black tortoise jade wall to repeatedly comprehend the 3 spear moves and the set of archery martial arts to deepen his comprehension. Of the 3 spear moves, the fire attribute spear move was tyrannical and had a terrifying force. It was called Tyrannical Fire Spear. The wind attribute spear move was extremely sharp and fast. It was called Sharp Wind Spear. The dark attribute spear move had a strong devouring force and could transform into 10,000 forces. It was called All Transformations Spear. Tyrannical Fire Spear. Sharp Wind Spear. All Transformations Spear. Yi Xing named the 3 spear moves in his mind. As for the set of archery martial arts, it contained the wind, fire, and darkness attributes. It was a combination of close combat martial arts and long-range archery. It was difficult to find a suitable name for it. Let's call it Dark Wind Fire Arrow Art. Although it was straightforward, it was still appropriate. All the martial artists were immersed in comprehending the Black Tortoise Jade Wall's martial arts. A day passed quickly, and it was time for the extraterritorial star continent to close. Suddenly, a spatial whirlpool appeared beside every martial artist. All the martial artists were immediately startled awake from comprehending the martial arts and were sucked into the spatial whirlpool. Not long after, Yi Xing stopped feeling like he was shuttling through space. The spatial whirlpool around him disappeared, and he appeared above the starry sky arena of the star continent. At this moment, the starry sky arena was empty. There was only one martial artist left sitting in the center of the arena. It was the person the Great Yuan dynasty had left behind to wait for news. Yi Xing had gone to a mid-tier extraterritorial star continent and would need half a year to come out. The Great Yuan dynasty naturally wanted to know if he had died in the extraterritorial star continent. Hence, they left behind a martial artist to guard the starry sky arena. This was a 6-star venerable. Fighting was prohibited in the starry sky arena. Even if a king was left behind, he could not take Yi Xing's life here. However, the martial artist left behind could not have a low cultivation. If Yi Xing had not died, he had to at least be able to suppress Yi Xing in terms of cultivation. When Yi Xing entered the extraterritorial star continent, he was only an 8-star venerable. Half a year had passed. Even if he had a breakthrough in his cultivation, a 6-star venerable would be able to suppress him in terms of cultivation. Yi Xing appeared above the starry sky arena. The 6-star venerable Meng Zhanfeng felt a change in space. When he raised his head to look, 2 rays of light flashed in his eyes. Meng Zhanfeng shouted, "Traitor, you actually did not die in the extraterritorial star continent?" Yi Xing's gaze landed on Meng Zhanfeng. He chuckled and said, "You are from the Great Yuan dynasty? I will have to disappoint you. I'm not dead. In fact, I am alive and well." As he spoke, Yi Xing landed and stood in front of Meng Zhanfeng. He continued, "Go and report to Meng Tai that I, Yi Xing, have returned." Although Meng Zhanfeng was a 6-star venerable with a surging aura and overwhelming might, to Yi Xing, it was like a gentle breeze. Meng Zhanfeng's cultivation suppression had no effect on Yi Xing. When Yi Xing transformed into a dragon, the dragon's might that erupted was much more terrifying than Meng Zhanfeng's 6-star venerable cultivation. In terms of aura and pressure, even if the Great Yuan dynasty left behind a high lord or even a king, it would not have any effect on Yi Xing. Can I vote for a free recommendation? Thank you. Chapter 625. Meng Zhanfeng glared at Yi Xing fiercely and said, "It doesn't matter that you didn't die in the extraterritorial star continent. You won't be able to live for long in the star continent. You will definitely die." Yi Xing chuckled and said, "All right. I will await the arrival of the Great Yuan dynasty's experts in the East Divine Continent." After saying that, Yi Xing ignored Meng Zhanfeng and walked towards the teleportation array. The teleportation array in the starry sky arena was very advanced. It could automatically absorb the power of the stars. The energy required for teleportation did not need to be maintained by star crystals. Yi Xing changed the destination of the teleportation array to the East Divine Continent and set off on the teleportation array. In an instant, the teleportation array emitted a dazzling white light that surrounded Yi Xing. Yi Xing, you will definitely die without a burial place. Meng Zhanfeng roared at the teleportation array as he watched the figure that was about to disappear. After saying that, a dazzling white light shot into the sky and formed a pure white light pillar. In the blink of an eye, the light pillar shot into the sky and disappeared into the void. Yi Xing's figure had already disappeared. Meng Zhanfeng immediately walked into the teleportation array. He wanted to report this news to the Supreme King, Meng Tai. At this point in time, the news of the demon star in troubled times was no longer a secret and had been spread around. The warriors of the Great Yuan dynasty all knew that Yi Xing was the demon star in troubled times. He was a thorn in the side of the Supreme King, Meng Tai. The teleportation array in the Starry Sky Arena could not be connected to the teleportation array in the East Divine Continent. Therefore, Yi Xing could be teleported to any place in the East Divine Continent. After Yi Xing arrived in the East Divine Continent, he first changed his appearance. After asking around, he found out that he was in the Heavenly Wolf Empire. The Heavenly Wolf Empire was one of the 9 middle-rank empires in the East Divine Continent. When Yi Xing went to the Divine Continent Mountain to participate in the East Divine Continent Junior Genius Tournament, he had used the teleportation array in the Heavenly Wolf Empire. The imperial capital of the Heavenly Wolf Empire had a level 4 transmission array that could send people millions of miles away. Yi Xing could use the transmission array to directly reach the capital of the Qingyu Empire. Yi Xing had become a venerable master and could control the wind energy to fly. His speed was already extremely fast, and with the addition of the mid-grade profound rank Azure Cloud Wings, Yi Xing's speed had reached a shocking level. He was not inferior to a High Lord speed. Half a day later, Yi Xing arrived at the Heavenly Wolf Imperial capital. Yi Xing had 2 reasons for returning to the East Divine Continent. Firstly, he wanted to understand the situation. Secondly, he wanted to head to the old site of the Falling Star sect and enter the Stellar Hall to complete the Venerable Realm trial. Only then would he head to the Dark Star sect. As for his future plans, he would discuss them with the Black Biao King when he arrived at the Dark Star sect. After understanding the situation, Yi Xing had 2 places to go. One was to go to the Blood Edge Empire to find Honorable Mo Jian, and the other was to go to the Qingyu Empire to find Honorable Qingyu. Yi Xing's identity as the Demon Star had been exposed for half a year. He did not know what measures the Great Yuan dynasty had taken. He did not know if it was safe to go to the Blood Edge Empire or the Qingyu Empire. The Blood Edge Empire was an upper-grade empire, while the Qingyu Empire was a lower-grade empire. If there was danger, the Qingyu Empire would naturally be less dangerous. Yi Xing chose the Qingyu Empire. Moreover, the Falling Star sect was located in the Qingyu Empire. Yi Xing had been away for more than a year and wanted to go back and take a look. Honorable Sir, the Qingyu Empire's transmission array has been closed. We can't connect to it. In the transmission hall of the Heavenly Wolf Imperial capital, a 9-star venerable said respectfully to Yi Xing, "The transmission array has been closed?" Yi Xing was surprised. Why would the transmission array be closed for no reason? Could it be that something had happened to the Qingyu Empire? Yi Xing said, "Then help me to the Qingyu domain. Try to be as close to the Qingyu Empire as possible." "Yes, Honorable Sir." Yi Xing was sent to the Qingyu Empire through the transmission array. If it wasn't a fixed transmission, there might be a deviation. Yi Xing found a nearby town and asked around. He found out his location. It was about 130,000 miles northwest of the Qingyu Empire. Since he knew the location and distance of the Qingyu Empire, it was only a matter of time before he reached the Qingyu Empire. Yi Xing flew rapidly towards the Qingyu Empire. In just an hour, Yi Xing arrived outside the Qingyu Empire. At this time, the Qingyu Empire was in ruins. Only the imperial palace in the inner city was covered by a layer of formation light. Moreover, there were layers of formations and restrictions within the imperial palace. Outside the light shield of the formation, there were dozens of huge airships floating in the sky. They were all large-scale flying spiritual tools. On each airship stood a large number of martial artists. The weakest among them was a true master of the astral realm, while the strongest one was a true master of the astral realm. There were thousands of people on each ship. Dozens of ships had tens of thousands of people. This was an army of honorable sir. With tens of thousands of honorable sir together, their strength was too terrifying. They were much more destructive than millions of martial sages. On the flag of each spaceship, there were 2 words, Song Long. Yi Xing's pupils shrank. This was the army of the Qinglong Empire. In the center of these dozens of ships was the most luxurious ship. Its grade was higher than the others, reaching the Xian class. It was equipped with a star crystal cannon that even Honorable Sir was wary of. There were more people on the Xian class ship than the others. There were even a few Honorable Sir. A 2-star Honorable Sir stood in front of the Xian class ship. He was the Emperor of the Qinglong Empire, Long Yuanguang. He shouted, "Yu Qinyue, if you don't open the formation and surrender now, I'll slaughter 100,000 people of the Qingyu Empire." On the ground outside the formation, there were corpses and broken limbs everywhere. There were 100,000 living people, men and women, old and young. Some were ordinary people, some were martial artists. Their cultivation levels were from the star-tempering realm to the star vortex realm. There were even some honorable sir in the astral realm. These 100,000 people were all from the Qingyu Empire. They were surrounded by the formation masters of the Qinglong Empire. They couldn't leave and could only wait for death in this place. "Yu Qinyue, you're too cold-blooded, too cruel. You don't care about the lives of your people at all. It's been 3 days. Every 2 hours, I've killed hundreds of thousands of your people. I've killed millions of them. You still don't want to surrender. Do you want to see the people of the Green Feather Empire being killed? Haha." Long Yuanguang shouted and laughed loudly. Below, screams were everywhere. Everyone fell into the fear of death. Many people were wailing. Long Yuanguang continued to laugh. "Yu Qinyue, do you hear their cries? These are the people of the Qingyu Empire. Ha! As their emperor, you just watch them die batch after batch. Yu Qinyue, how can you be so cruel and cold-blooded? Long Yuanguang, you devil. The Qinglong Empire is so heartless. Sooner or later, they'll be punished." A voice full of anger came from the formation. It was the voice of the Qingyu Empire's crown prince, Yu Qinggan. Chapter 626. Haha. Your Yu royal family doesn't even care about the lives of your own people. That's truly heartless. If there's any retribution, it's your Qingyu Empire. Now, I'll let you see the retribution of your Qingyu Empire dancing with Yi Xing and becoming enemies with the Great Yuan dynasty. Leave no one alive. Long Yuanguang shouted and waved his arm, chopping down. Stop it! In the distant sky, a roar came. A middle-aged man with a mustache stepped on the air. It was Yi Xing in disguise. Yi Xing's roar shook the astral energy and rushed out layers of air waves. It was no less than a sudden clap of thunder, spreading for dozens of miles. Everyone heard it clearly. The immortals of the Blue Dragon Empire who were preparing to attack below were stunned and looked at Yi Xing. Yi Xing released his cultivation and showed the cultivation of a 1-star venerable. He shouted, "You are all immortals, even venerables, but you take pleasure in slaughtering ordinary people and warriors. Do you still have any humanity? Are you all beasts in human skin?" Anger, Yi Xing was furious. There were millions of broken limbs on the ground. This was not a massacre on the battlefield, but a one-sided massacre. These people actually dared to do such a thing. The viciousness of their hearts was unimaginable. Long Yuanguang looked at Yi Xing and snorted. A mere 1-star venerable dares to meddle in other people's business. Do you want to die? Yi Xing carefully observed Long Yuanguang for a while and found that he looked very similar to Long Xiao. He said, "You're the emperor of the Blue Dragon Empire, Long Yuanguang?" Long Yuanguang looked proud and said, "That's me." Yi Xing's eyes revealed a strong killing intent. He said, "You've committed such a heinous crime. Even death can't wipe out your crimes. Since you're from the Blue Dragon Empire, you deserve to die. Since we've met today, I'll destroy your Blue Dragon Empire. Long Yunguang was furious and sneered, You? Since you dare to speak like this, I think you must be tired of living. Long Gong, Long Xian, the two of you go and kill him. On the Xian-grade spaceship behind Long Yuanguang, there were 2 one-star venerables. They replied, Yes. With that, the 2 of them flew into the air and headed towards Yixing. Yixing revealed a disdainful sneer. Regardless of whether it was Long Yuanguang, Long Gong, or Long Xian, the 2 one-star venerables, Yixing viewed them all as weeds. Moreover, Yixing's superbrain had scanned that there were 2 other seniors in the cabin. They were both mid-level astral-reaching experts. Yixing didn't put them in his eyes either. When Yixing said that he wanted to destroy the Azure Dragon Empire, he already included these 2 4-star venerables. Daring to meddle in my Blue Dragon Empire's business, I think you're tired of living. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Remember this in your next life. Long Gong and Long Xian, the 2 one-star venerables, sneered. With the 2 of them joining hands, they naturally didn't put Yixing, who was also a 1-star venerables, in their eyes. As their voices faded, Long Gong and Long Xian attacked at the same time, attacking Yixing, Die. At this moment, Yixing coldly shouted. The mid-level profound-grade ardent flame profound spear appeared in his hand and pierced forward. Sharp wind spear. A sharp air-piercing sound rang out, tearing apart the void. Before Long Gong and Long Xian's attack landed, a light flashed, and Yixing retreated. However, a bloody hole appeared in Long Gong and Long Xian's throats. The sharp wind spear was extremely fast. Killing 1-star venerables was simply like slaughtering chickens. Yixing had killed 2 1-star venerables with a single spear in an instant. The speed was too fast. Long Gong and Long Xian didn't feel any pain and completely didn't realize that they had been shot. They continued to attack Yixing. However, when they rushed in front of Yixing, their eyes had already turned into fear. Fresh blood gushed out from the bloody hole in their throats, and their lives were rapidly flowing away. How could the 2 still care about attacking Yixing? Their hands immediately covered their throats. They opened their mouths to scream, but no sound came out. Both of them fell to the ground. In the Blue Dragon Empire, the pupils of the perfected persons shrank, and they were shocked. Venerables were existences that stood at the peak of the Blue Dragon Empire. There were only a few of them, and they were high and mighty. However, 2 venerables were actually killed by Yixing in an instant. This was truly unbelievable. Not to mention these perfected persons, even Long Yuanguang, a 2-star venerables, felt a chill in his heart. That spear just now was something that he couldn't block no matter what. If he faced that spear, the result would be no different from Long Gong and Long Xian. He would also have his throat pierced. How can there be such a powerful 1-star venerables? Who exactly are you? Long Yuanguang pointed at Yixing in horror. Then, his expression changed as he suddenly thought of something. He shouted loudly, Fire! Use the star crystal cannon to blast him to death. The star crystal cannon on the profound-grade spaceship had already been loaded and could be fired at any time. Bang! At Long Yuanguang's order, a perfected person who reacted quickly immediately fired the cannon. The star crystal cannon shot out, rushing out a terrifying impact wave in the void. In the blink of an eye, it blasted in front of Yixing. The Blue Dragon Empire's profound-grade flying ship was not very good. The star crystal cannons on it were not very powerful, but they were enough to kill 1-star and 2-star venerables. Even 3-star venerables could not withstand too many of the cannons. Yixing didn't retreat in the face of the incoming star crystal cannon. Suddenly, a layer of dark energy covered the blazing flame profound spear. Yixing thrust out his spear. The dark energy revolved around the blazing flame profound spear, forming a small dark vortex. 1,000 transformations spear. The star crystal cannon collided with the blazing flame profound spear. Instead of exploding directly, it was attracted by the dark vortex and instantly flew to the side. Boom! The star crystal cannon flew for a full 1,000 meters before exploding. The deafening sound showed how powerful it was. However, it wasn't a threat to Yixing. Although they were more than 1,000 meters apart, Yixing also felt a powerful wave of air rushing towards him. However, this wave of air was like a gentle breeze to him. It didn't have any offensive power. Bang 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 bang, the first star crystal cannon shot out. Soon, the second and third shots were fired. Yixing continued to use the 1,000 transformation spear. There was no spear in his hand anymore. Only a huge dark vortex could be seen. The star crystal cannon's power was instantly dissolved by him and thrown far away. Boom 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 boom. In the sky more than 1,000 meters away, the sound of explosions was endless. The star crystal cannon shot after shot in the air. For Yixing, the star crystal cannon was no threat at all. Whoosh! Suddenly, a terrifying aura spread out from the profound grade spaceship. A 4-star venerable walked out of the cabin. This was an old man with hair as white as snow. However, his face didn't look old at all. He had a ruddy complexion and white hair. His posture was tall and straight, and his eyes were bright and spirited. "Stop!" the old man said softly. Like a muffled thunder in everyone's heart, the star crystal cannon's attack immediately stopped. Chapter 627. The perfected masters of the Tsang Dragon Empire looked at the old man with respect. Long Yuanguang also came to the old man respectfully and bowed. Ancestor. In the Tsang Dragon Empire, there was only one person who could be called Ancestor by Long Yuanguang. He was the former emperor of the Tsang Dragon Empire, Long Xingyu. Long Xingyu was one of the 2 4-star venerables scanned by Yixing's super brain. However, according to Yixing's knowledge, Venerable Xingyu of the Tsang Dragon Empire was a 3-star venerable. He didn't expect the rumors to be wrong. Long Xingyu stepped out of the spaceship and came to Yixing. His gaze locked onto Yixing from afar. His gaze was like a sharp blade slicing through Yixing's body. My Tsang Dragon Empire had all kinds of enemies who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. But in the end, the Tsang Dragon Empire has always existed and prospered, but those enemies are all dead. Long Xingyu said slowly. His voice was calm as if he was telling the truth. Even a giant like the Qingyu Empire that went against my Tsang Dragon Empire is now in a dead end. Long Xingyu's tone suddenly became intense. He glared at Yixing and exploded with a terrifying aura that pressed down on him. Who do you think you are? A brute like you dares to obstruct my Blue Dragon Empire by yourself. Venerable Xingyu. Venerable Xingyu. Long Xingyu's words boosted the morale of the Tsang Dragon Empire's perfected masters. All the perfected masters shouted and their aura shook the heavens and earth. Yixing smiled. There was disdain and mockery in his smile. Long Xingyu? 100 years ago, Qi Yan, a half-step venerable, killed 2 venerables of the Tsang Dragon Empire. You were the emperor of the Tsang Dragon Empire, a 3-star venerable, but you let Qi Yan escape. You're just a piece of trash. Don't pretend to be a wolf in front of me. Whoosh! Yixing's words caused Long Xingyu to erupt with a terrifying killing intent that enveloped Yixing. 100 years ago, the Scarlet Flame Venerable had caused the Blue Dragon Empire to lose face. It was also a stain in Long Xingyu's life. A 3-star venerable had fought against a half-step venerable, but the half-step venerable had escaped. This was indeed an unpresentable battle record. Yixing's face was as calm as a spring breeze amidst Long Xingyu's murderous intent. He said with a calm expression, "Why are you looking at me like that? You want to kill me with your gaze? If you want to kill me, you can't just rely on your gaze. You have to make a move. However, don't think that I won't kill you just because you're older. As long as you make a move, I'll immediately take your life. If you want to die, this old man will fulfill your wish." Long Xingyu was so angry that his face turned red. A mysterious great saber appeared in his hand, and he slashed towards Yixing. This slash was like a shooting star chasing after the moon. It was extremely fast, and its power was astonishing. The air currents in the void were instantly split in half. Space seemed to suddenly split into 2 sides, and the saber light instantly shot over. Sharp wind spear. Competing in speed? Yi Xing was not afraid of anyone. In an instant his spear stabbed out like a flash of cold light. The void was pierced, and the tip of the spear was instantly aimed at Long Xingyu's throat. The spear's speed was faster than the saber's. Only when Yi Xing made his move did Long Xingyu realize how terrifying Yi Xing's spear was. Previously, he thought that Long Gong and Long Xian died because they underestimated their opponent. Now, it seemed that even if Long Gong and Long Xian were extremely alert, they could not block this spear's assassination. Long Xingyu was after all a 4-star venerable, and he had already stepped into the ranks of a mid-level venerable. His strength was not something that Long Gong and Long Xian, who were only 1-star venerables, could compare to. Kill! Long Xingyu roared, and the astral energy in his body instantly erupted. It rushed out of his body, creating layers of energy waves that pushed out one after another like a protective shield. Even though Yi Xing's spear's penetrating power was extremely strong, and it pierced through dozens of layers of astral energy, the spear's speed was slightly affected. A 4-star venerable's reaction was extremely fast. This slight effect was enough for Long Xingyu. The dark-grade saber immediately changed its direction and slashed at the blazing flame dark spear. Clang! The blazing flame dark spear was shaken off. In terms of strength, Long Xingyu, as a 4-star venerable, was stronger. Whoosh! Starlight soared into the sky. Long Xingyu immediately used his superior metal-type astrology. The metal-type astral energy fell, and Long Xingyu's strength increased greatly. He shouted, 18 Frenzied Demonic Saber. As soon as he spoke, the golden saber energy slashed out one after another. 18 Frenzied Demonic Saber, a low-class profound-level martial art. 18 consecutive slashes, each stronger and faster than the last. Yi Xing immediately used his fire astrology. The increase in strength from the extreme fire astrology was much stronger than Long Xingyu's superior astrology. The difference in strength between the two was instantly reduced. Yi Xing continued to use the sharp wind spear. The spear was as fast as a flash of light. It collided with the saber energy, and its strength was not inferior. However, Long Xingyu's saber skills were faster and faster. Within the range of the 18 Frenzied Demonic Saber, the sharp wind spear could not break through the opponent's saber skills. Moreover, the power of Long Xingyu's saber skills was increasing with each slash. In the blink of an eye, Long Xingyu had slashed a dozen times. In terms of strength, Yi Xing's spear skills were still inferior. He was at a disadvantage. 18th slash die. Long Xingyu shouted as the last slash of the 18 Frenzied Demonic Saber was unleashed. The last slash was the ultimate killing move of the 18 Frenzied Demonic Saber. The momentum accumulated from the previous 17 slashes exploded in an instant, causing the power of this slash to be several times stronger than the previous ones. Yi Xing was already at a disadvantage in terms of strength after blocking the 17th slash. Long Xingyu was confident that this slash could kill Yi Xing. However, Yi Xing's move was beyond Long Xingyu's expectations. Yi Xing had been using the sharp wind spear to fight against the 18 Frenzied Demonic Saber. However, in the last slash, Yi Xing's move suddenly changed. The raging flame spear drew upon the dark essence and turned into a black vortex. The 1000 Transformation Spear. When the saber aura slashed into the black vortex, Long Xingyu felt a huge devouring force that suddenly dissolved the saber aura's power. In the blink of an eye, the saber aura's power decreased several times. Most importantly, the saber aura was clearly aimed at Yi Xing's head. However, when it entered the black vortex, there was a huge suction force that changed the direction of the saber aura. It slashed into the empty space beside Yi Xing previously. Yi Xing had used the 1000 Transformation Spear to change the direction of the Astral Crystal Cannonball. Now, he was changing the direction of Long Xingyu's saber attack. However, the effect was the same. Oh no! When Long Xingyu saw that his saber attack had missed, he exclaimed and quickly retreated. Sharp Wind Spear. However, Yi Xing changed his move instantly. While Long Xingyu's saber was changing direction, the raging flame spear stabbed forward. The spear was so fast that Long Xingyu couldn't dodge it in time. A cold light flashed and a bloody hole appeared in Long Xingyu's throat. I've made up for last month's missing chapters. Tomorrow, I'll start making up for last month's monthly votes. Happy Chinese Valentine's Day. Today is a good day. Please vote for me. Thank you. Chapter 628. Blood spurted out from Long Xingyu's throat like a fountain. Long Xingyu screamed in shock and raised his hand to cover his throat. His eyes were full of fear as he immediately retreated. After passing through the Thunder Calamity and becoming a venerable, not only would their lifespan increase, their vitality would also increase greatly. Ordinary martial artists would die instantly if their throat was pierced. However, ordinary venerables would still be able to struggle for a few breaths of time. After becoming a mid-level venerable, one's vitality would be even more tenacious. If one's throat was heavily injured and treated in time, there was still a chance of survival. As for high-level venerables, their vitality would be even higher. The throat was no longer a vital part. Even if it was pierced through, it wouldn't be a fatal injury. Sir, save me. As Long Xingyu retreated, his astral energy vibrated as he sent a message to the other 4-star venerable in the ship. Although they were both 4-star venerables, Long Xingyu relied on medicine to forcefully break through to the 4th level of astral reaching realm. He was the most ordinary 4-star venerable with the weakest strength. However, the 4-star venerable in the ship relied on his own cultivation. Moreover, his cultivation base had already consolidated to the late 4th level. He was much stronger than Long Xingyu. Even 3 Long Xingius might not be a match for him. Moreover, the former was a Meng royal family martial artist. Long Xingyu couldn't compare to the latter in terms of cultivation methods and martial attainments. As Long Xingyu spoke, Yi Xing's body was like lightning as he thrust out his spear again. It was still the sharp wind spear. This spear was too fast, like a cold flash. Even if the 4-star venerable in the ship had already rushed out, he wouldn't be able to block it in time. Stop dash! The 4-star venerable of the Meng royal clan shouted loudly. He took a step out from the profound grade flying ship and rushed toward Yi Xing like a bolt of lightning. The profound flame spear didn't stop at all. With extreme speed, it caught up to the retreating Long Xingyu and retreated after piercing through his forehead. In an instant, a huge hole was pierced through Long Xingyu's forehead. Long Xingyu let out a mournful scream. It was very short, and then his body fell down, dying. The space between one's eyebrows was where one's spirit resided. Yi Xing's spear had pierced through Long Xingyu's mind, completely destroying the space between their eyebrows. Without his spirit, Long Xingyu was only left with a flesh shell. Of course, he died instantly. That blood-curdling scream stopped as soon as it sounded. It was extremely short. The warriors of the Blue Dragon Empire were all dumbfounded. Long Xingyu was extremely powerful in the Blue Dragon Empire. Even if he gave up the throne, he was still the spiritual leader of the warriors of the Blue Dragon Empire. However, at this moment, in front of the Azure Dragon Empire's martial artists, Long Xingyu was first pierced through the throat by Yi Xing's spear, then shot through the head, directly losing his life. This was a devastating blow to the Azure Dragon Empire's martial artists. The morale of the Azure Dragon Empire's army plummeted. All the martial artists were shocked, and some were even frightened. Their hearts were in chaos. How dare you! Meng Tsang, the 4-star venerable of the Meng royal family, seeing that Yi Xing didn't listen to him, his expression turned furious. He roared, "You're courting death." Long Xingyu was only able to raise his cultivation to the 4th level of astral reaching realm because of the help of the Meng royal family. He was a dog raised by the Meng royal family. A medicine that could directly raise a venerable's cultivation was not ordinary. It was extremely precious. The Meng royal family naturally had their own uses for this dog. Now that Yi Xing had directly killed this dog, the precious medicine used on Long Xingyu had been wasted. Naturally, Meng Tsang's anger soared to the sky. As Meng Tsang roared, he had already attacked. His 5 fingers clenched into a fist, and he punched towards Yi Xing. Boom. With an explosion, the void shook. The fist aura shot out, creating a shockwave visible to the naked eye, and bombarding towards Yi Xing. Meng Tsong's battle strength was top tier among the 4-star venerables. Even without using the astral form, the power of this fist was even more terrifying than Long Xingyu's full strength. In the face of the sudden punch, Yi Xing snorted coldly. Fire yuan qi between heaven and earth gathered, and Yi Xing turned into a man of fire. The surrounding temperature suddenly increased, and his aura became somewhat violent. Tyrannical Fire Spear. Yi Xing performed the most violent and tyrannical fire-attributed spear move. Like a needle against an awl, it pierced towards the incoming fist aura. As this spear pierced out, a violent flame danced along the burning flame mystic spear. It was like a fire dragon pouncing forward, its power shaking the sky. In an instant, the fist aura and the spear aura collided. With an explosion, the fist aura exploded, turning into streams of astral energy that splashed out in all directions. Meng Tsong didn't use the astral form after all. Although he was powerful, his fist aura wasn't that much stronger than Long Xingyu's. Yi Xing, on the other hand, had used the fire astral form. His strength was at its peak, so it wasn't strange for him to destroy Meng Tsong's fist aura with a single spear strike. When the fist aura exploded, its power was much stronger than the star crystal cannonball shot out by the profound grade spaceship. Terrifying shockwaves spread out in all directions. Yi Xing and Meng Tsong's bodies followed the shockwaves and retreated a few hundred meters. Warriors of the Deyuan dynasty are not allowed to directly participate in the battles of the East Divine Continent. This is the agreement between the Deyuan dynasty and the Dark Star sect. Honorable Meng, you have violated the agreement. Do you want to cause a direct battle between the Deyuan dynasty and the Dark Star sect? A voice came from the inner city of the palace. Yi Xing immediately knew that it was the voice of the Emperor of the Qingyu Empire, Honorable Qianyu. Honorable Qianyu's voice was weak. His body was obviously not in a good condition. He should be injured. Yi Xing and Meng Tsong stood 1,000 meters apart, looking at each other. Hearing Honorable Qianyu's words, Meng Tsong laughed and said, "Of course I won't directly interfere in the battles between your empires. But this person is not a warrior of the Qingyu Empire. I killed him, so it's not a violation of the agreement. What's the problem?" Yi Xing looked at Meng Tsong and laughed, saying, "So you're from the Meng royal family of the Deyuan dynasty?" Meng Tsong sneered and said, "Yes, it's useless to be afraid now. You killed Long Xingyu and wasted a dog of the Deyuan dynasty. You only have 2 outcomes. You can either replace Long Xingyu and become the dog of the Deyuan dynasty, or die." When Long Xingyu died, Meng Tsong was furious. He only wanted to kill Yi Xing to appease the anger in his heart. But now that he had calmed down and thought about it, the person in front of him was much stronger than Long Xingyu. If he replaced Long Xingyu and became the dog of the Deyuan dynasty, it would be more beneficial for the Deyuan dynasty. In this way, the Deyuan dynasty could use this person to attack the cities of the East Divine Continent and destroy all the lower-rank empires that had sided with the Dark Star sect. Haha. Yi Xing laughed and said, "Do you know what my hobby is?" Yi Xing did not answer the question, which made Meng Tsong frown slightly. But he could not help but ask, "What is it?" Yi Xing's lips curled up and he said, "My hobby is to kill warriors of the Deyuan dynasty, especially warriors of the Meng royal family." Chapter 629. Meng Tsong was enraged, truly enraged. He was fuming with anger. The Deyuan dynasty was the ruler of the Star Continent. It was the only ruler of the Star Continent. The Meng royal family was the ruler of the Deyuan dynasty. Their status was even higher. They were at the peak of the martial Dao forces in the Star Continent. Which martial Dao force was not afraid of the Deyuan dynasty? Which martial Dao force was not afraid of the Meng royal family? Even the martial Dao forces that sided with the Dark Star sect were afraid of the Deyuan dynasty and the Meng royal family. However, today, Meng Tsong heard that someone dared to say that his hobby was to kill the Deyuan dynasty's martial Dao force, especially the Meng royal family's martial Dao force. As a member of the Meng royal family, How could Meng Tsang not be angry? Bastard! You deserve to die. How dare you be so rebellious? There is no place for you in the star continent. No one in the heavens or earth can save you. Meng Tsang roared furiously. His aura became violent. Swoosh! A ray of starlight shot into the sky. Meng Tsang used the astrology. It was a high-grade astrology of the water attribute. The power of the astrology increased Meng Tsang's strength. As soon as he finished speaking, Meng Tsang threw a punch at Yixing. When the astral punch arrived, it contained extremely strong water origin energy. Ripples spread out, and the force behind it lingered for a long time. Not many 4-star venerables could withstand the might of this punch. Yixing's figure split and used the shadow steps to dodge the attack. Meng Tsang's strength was about the same as Xing Liuyang's when compared to the martial Dao force he encountered in the extraterritorial star continent. In the extraterritorial star continent, Yixing used the black hole astrology to kill Xing Liuyang. After that, Yixing comprehended the black tortoise jade wall and comprehended 3 spear techniques and an archery martial art. His strength increased greatly. Now, he did not plan to use the black hole astrology against Meng Tsang. He wanted to try and see if the martial arts he had comprehended on the black tortoise jade wall could allow him to defeat a 4-star venerable realm expert. Although Long Xingyu was also a 4-star venerable, his strength was the most ordinary among the 4-star venerables. He couldn't be considered a 4-star venerable. Meng Tsang's strength was at the top of the 4-star venerables. Where do you think you're going? Meng Tsang's fist moves changed extremely quickly. With a loud shout, he threw out another punch. The power of his fist overlapped like waves and was even stronger than before. His moves are similar to Long Xingyu's blade art. Each move is stronger than the previous one, accumulating power. We have to break his attacking rhythm. Yixing did not dodge the second punch. The blazing flame profound spear gathered dark yuan qi and unleashed the spear of 10,000 transformations. The dark vortex collided with the fist aura and frantically neutralized the energy within the other party's fist aura. However, the energy within Meng Tsang's fist aura surged forth like waves and was extremely difficult to neutralize. The energy fist continued to blast forward without any deviation. The softest thing in the world was water. Although the power of water elemental energy was not as violent and domineering as other elemental energies, it had a long-lasting effect and was the most difficult to dissipate and transfer. The 10,000 transformations spear did not have much of an effect. It merely delayed the arrival of the astral fist for a moment. Yixing quickly retreated. At the same time, he changed his spear technique. The dark yuan qi on the blazing flame profound spear dissipated and was replaced by fire yuan qi. The blazing flame profound spear was a dark weapon of the fire attribute. When combined with the fire yuan qi, it was extremely powerful. Yixing's astral form was also of the fire attribute. When the fire attribute star power fell and combined with the fire yuan qi and the fire force, the power that erupted was the most violent and powerful. Tyrannical flame spear. Yixing was like a flame messenger. The blazing flame long spear in his hand stabbed out fiercely and unleashed the most violent and domineering of the 3 spear techniques. The blazing flame profound spear was like a spear. With the terrifying power of flames, it collided with the other party's fist aura once again. Softness could overcome hardness. However, if the hardness was too strong, it could also crush all softness. Yixing's spear was extremely strong. The power of the flames was unstoppable. Even though Meng Tsang's fist aura had a long-lasting effect, it was still pushed back by the violent and domineering spear. There was still some energy left. The terrifying blazing flame profound spear moved forward and pounced on Meng Tsang like a fire dragon. Meng Tsang's second move was broken and his attacking rhythm was disrupted. Facing the blazing flame profound spear that suddenly pounced on him, Meng Tsang's figure flashed and he chose to dodge. Sharp wind spear. Yixing changed his move again and took advantage of the situation. In terms of strength, Meng Tsang was actually not inferior to him. Just now, Yixing had already unleashed his strength to the limit. Even so, his strength was only slightly better than Meng Tsang's. However, Meng Tsang had yet to unleash his ultimate move. If both of them unleashed their strength to the limit, Meng Tsang's fist aura would be endless. Yi Xing's fist aura would not be able to crush Meng Tsang's fist aura. He would definitely be restrained by Meng Tsang's softness, and the one who would be at a disadvantage would be Yi Xing. In this regard, Yi Xing understood. Therefore, when Meng Tsang retreated, he seized the opportunity to take the lead in the battle and quickly attacked. He fought speed with speed and did not give Meng Tsang a chance to counterattack. The sharp wind spear was too fast. A cold light flashed in the void and the tip of the blazing flame profound spear was already in front of Meng Tsang, stabbing straight at Meng Tsang's throat. Meng Tsang's pupils shrank. What a fast spear! He instinctively punched out. How could a hasty punch compare to a prepared punch? Although the power of this punch was much stronger than Long Xingyu's attack, Meng Tsang only used about 80% of his strength. Even if it was only 80% of his strength, Yi Xing did not want to fight Meng Tsang head-on. The tip of the spear and the fist aura touched lightly and disappeared in a flash. Sharp wind spear. In the next moment, Yi Xing changed his direction and stabbed at Meng Tsang again. The tip of the spear was aimed at Meng Tsang's vital point. Yi Xing's after-image footwork had reached the perfection stage. It was not inferior to a profound-level light body art. In addition, he had the union of heaven and man and the wind yuan qi gathered around his body. His speed was too fast, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. Before Meng Tsang could counterattack, Yi Xing's spear arrived again. Meng Tsang's expression changed again. He retreated again and punched out. Shoo 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 shoo, Yi Xing's spear was faster than the previous one. His body kept changing directions and using the sharp wind spear to attack Meng Tsang quickly. Although Meng Tsang's strength was higher than Long Xingyu, he was not as fast as the latter. Under Yi Xing's attacks, he kept retreating. Although he had strength, he was suppressed by Yi Xing's speed and could not use it. However, Yi Xing pursued speed, so the power of his spear skills was reduced. Although Meng Tsang was shocked, he still managed to block Yi Xing's attacks. Soon, Yi Xing had stabbed his spear more than 100 times. Boom! Yi Xing attacked with his spear again. Flames covered the sky and the earth. The ardent flame spear was like a fire dragon that rushed out and whipped down. Meng Tsang thought that Yi Xing was still using speed to fight speed and that his spear skills could be blocked with a casual punch. He instinctively punched out. Meng Tsang only reacted when the fist aura left his body. Yi Xing's spear skills had changed. The power of this spear was extremely terrifying. Chapter 630. The Spear of Tyrannical Fire. It was Yi Xing's most powerful move, and its power was violent and tyrannical. Even though Meng Tsang's strength was higher than Yi Xing's, facing such a terrifying spear attack, how could a casual punch of his be able to block it? It was so strong that it could crush all soft changes. Meng Tsang's fist force contained water vitality, and its aftershocks were like waves, but it was instantly destroyed by the spear. The ardent flame profound spear carried a terrifying flame power and continued to whip downwards, fiercely whipping Meng Tsang's fist. Meng Tsang's fists were not torn apart by the blazing profound flame spear because he was wearing black low-grade gloves. However, the terrifying power penetrated the gloves and rushed toward Meng Tsang's body. Puff, 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 puff. In the blink of an eye, the clothes on Meng Tsang's arms were torn apart, and he felt a sharp pain in his arms. Moreover, the pain spread to Meng Tsang's internal organs along with the impact of the power. Meng Tsang spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body fell to the ground like a meteor. Bang! Meng Tsang's body collided with the ground, and there was a loud explosion. The spear of tyrannical fire was so terrifying that Meng Tsang was injured because of his misjudgment. However, as an intermediate supremacy, although the spear made Meng Tsang spit out blood, he was not seriously injured. Yi Xing did not stop there. Instead, he wanted to kill Meng Tsang while he was injured. Die! Yi Xing let out a loud roar as he pushed his fire momentum, fire astral aspect, fire yuan qi, and physical strength to the limit. He unleashed his full power and threw the ardent flame profound spear at Meng Tsang. The blazing profound flame spear drew a red light and followed Meng Tsong's body from the sky. It stabbed toward Meng Tsong with a terrifying power. The spear was too fast. Yi Xing threw it at Meng Tsong, and it was twice as fast as when Meng Tsong stabbed with the spear. Although Meng Tsong was injured, he knew very well that he had to change his position immediately after landing to prevent his opponent from continuing to attack him. However, when his body collided with the ground, the intense impact caused his mind to go blank for a brief moment. His mind went blank for an instant. However, in that instant, the ardent flame profound spear that Yi Xing had thrown had already landed. The ardent flame profound spear pierced through Meng Tsong's chest and came out from his back. It then pierced into the ground below and nailed Meng Tsong's body to the ground. On Meng Tsong's body, he was wearing a low profound grade protective inner armor. His defense was extremely strong. However, the profound blaze spear was a middle grade profound weapon. Furthermore, with the strength of Yi Xing's throw, the tip of the spear had a terrifying penetrative power. It was not something that a low profound grade protective inner armor could withstand. Naturally, it was pierced through. This spear had consumed all of Yi Xing's power. His mental power had been greatly depleted. He swayed slightly in the sky and almost fell down. He hurriedly activated his azure cloud wings, and his body did not fall down from the sky. On the ground, Meng Tsong looked at Yi Xing in the sky. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He, a 4-star reverend, had actually died in the hands of a 1-star reverend. The life in Meng Tsong's eyes was rapidly fading. The ardent flame profound spear had pierced through his heart. Even for a high-level astral-reaching realm reverend, the heart was a fatal spot. With his heart pierced, Meng Tsong's life was naturally fading away. In just a few breaths of time, Meng Tsong's vision turned black and he died. First, it was the 2 1-star reverends, then the 4-star Reverend Long Xingyu, and then the 4-star Reverend Meng Tsong. They had all died in the hands of Yi Xing. A 1-star reverend killing a 4-star reverend who was 3 realms higher. This was completely unheard of. Since when did the East God continent have such a heaven-defying 1-star reverend? Was he still human? Perhaps only the legendary demons would have such heaven-defying strength. At this moment, the Emperor of the Blue Dragon Empire, Long Yuanguang, as well as the army of reverends of the Blue Dragon Empire, looked at Yi Xing with only fright and fear in their eyes. Retreat! All of you retreat! Long Yuanguang's voice was trembling as he hastily returned to the profound rank ship. Long Yuanguang, do you think you can escape? Yi Xing yelled. He raised his hand and retrieved the ardent flame profound spear. With a flap of his azure cloud wings, he rapidly flew towards the profound rank ship. That profound rank ship was located in the midst of many spirit rank ships. However, when Yi Xing rushed in, it was as if he had entered an empty space. Which reverend on the spirit rank ship would dare to make a move against Yi Xing? Even the reverends on the profound rank ship didn't dare to shoot their star crystal cannons at Yi Xing. In just a few blinks of an eye, Yi Xing had already boarded the profound rank ship. Bastards of the Blue Dragon Empire, you can all die. Kill! At this moment, in the inner city of the Qinyu Empire's imperial palace, there were earth-shattering battle cries. The restrictive formation dissipated and numerous ships rushed out. They were all spirit rank ships. Among them, there was also a profound rank ship with several venerables standing on it. Long Yuanguang's order to retreat frightened the reverends of the Blue Dragon Empire. Of course, they hurriedly retreated. At this moment, the army of the Qinyu Empire charged out, and there were venerables among them. Naturally, it was as if they were chopping melons and vegetables. The army of the Blue Dragon Empire was completely defeated. On the Blue Dragon Empire's profound grade flying ship, as soon as Yi Xing boarded, some ordinary grade 4 formations appeared and sealed the entire ship. Yi Xing scanned with his super brain. A mere level 4 restrictive formation was almost nothing to him. Yi Xing held the ardent flame profound spear and broke a large part of the restrictive formation with a few strikes. He then killed his way into the cabin. The restrictive formation on the ship became less and less. They were all easily broken by Yi Xing. In the end, they completely disappeared. Yi Xing and Long Yuanguang met again at the bottom of the cabin. Long Yuanguang's face was ashen. He had never imagined that this one-star venerable was actually a powerful formation master. The level 4 formations on the ship were like nothing. "Hero, please spare my life." Long Yuanguang looked at Yi Xing and completely lost his will. There was only fear left in his heart. He kneeled on the ground and kept begging for mercy. "Hero, you are a magnanimous person. Please let me go, don't kill me." Yi Xing coldly looked at Long Yuanguang. He had never thought that the latter, as the emperor of the empire and an astral-reaching realm venerable, would be so weak in the face of death. Yi Xing's voice was cold. "Let you go? Have you ever let me go?" Long Yuanguang was puzzled. "Hero, when did I offend you?" Yi Xing said, "The Blue Dragon Empire's 2-star venerable had once tried to kill me. As the emperor of the Blue Dragon Empire, do you dare to say that it wasn't your order?" Long Yuanguang didn't know what Yi Xing was talking about. He carefully thought back. Suddenly, his face changed and was full of shock. He cried out in surprise. "How is this possible? You are? First, I'll make up for this month's update. Then I'll make up for last month's update." Chapter 631. Sharp Wind Spear. Xiao, a cold light flashed. The spear tip pierced through Long Yuanguang's forehead. Before Long Yuanguang could say Yi Xing's name, his mind was destroyed by the power of the spear tip, and he died. Until his death, Long Yuanguang's eyes were wide open, filled with disbelief. Yi Xing's words made him remember that in recent years, he only sent out 2 venerables to kill Yi Xing. Could it be that the person in front of him was Yi Xing in disguise? But Yi Xing was only a venerable at the 6th or 7th level of the astral realm a year ago, and now he was already a 1-star venerable. How could he have such a fast cultivation speed? Long Yuanguang couldn't believe it, and his heart was filled with questions. Yi Xing took Long Yuanguang's storage ring and got out of the profound level ship. At this time, the battle was coming to an end. The venerables of the Cyan Feather Empire led the army of spiritual masters to attack, and the Blue Dragon Empire was defeated. Most of them were killed on the spot, and the ones that escaped were being hunted down by the Cyan Feather Empire's army. During the battle, the Cyan Feather Empire's venerables attacked. Now that the situation was settled, they naturally didn't lower themselves to chase after the Blue Dragon Empire's spiritual masters. They came to the profound level ship where Yi Xing was. There were 4 venerables in total. Other than Yu Qinyue, who was a 3-star venerable, there was 1 2-star venerable, and 2 1-star venerables. Yu Qinyue's face was a bit pale, and the other 3 didn't look good either. They were all injured. "Thank you, hero, for saving us. The Cyan Feather Empire is very grateful." Yu Qinyue and the rest came to Yi Xing and bowed together, full of gratitude. "I also have some old grudges with the Blue Dragon Empire. Today I met them and destroyed them. It's just a small matter, you don't have to take it to heart." Yi Xing lightly waved his hand, his eyes fell on Yu Qinyue, and said, "Venerable Qinyue, I have some things to ask you. Can we talk alone?" Yu Qinyue slightly bowed and said, "Of course, please come to the inner city, I will tell you everything I know." Cyan Feather Empire, Inner City Palace. Yu Qinyue brought Yi Xing to a magnificent palace. Entering the palace, Yu Qinyue immediately clasped his fists and bowed. "Thank you for saving my Qinyu Empire." Yi Xing looked at Yu Qinyue and said in surprise, "I'm dressed like this, and Venerable Qinyue still recognizes me?" Yu Qinyue said, "At first I didn't recognize it, but when young Master Yi used the wings, I recognized it. Even though young Master's wings are of a higher grade, the style hasn't changed at all." Yi Xing smiled. Since he wanted to meet with Yu Qinyue alone, he didn't intend to hide his identity. It didn't matter if he was recognized. Yi Xing said, "I've just returned from the extraterritorial star land and haven't gone to the Dark Star Church yet." Honorable Qinyue should know what I want to ask, right? Yu Qinyue nodded and said, "After young Master went to the extraterritorial star land, many things have happened in the star land. The biggest thing is that the news of young master being the demon star of troubled times has spread. Almost all the warriors in the Starland know about it. Yi Xing nodded. His identity was exposed in the Starry Sky arena, so it was normal for it to spread. However, this news shouldn't be spread by the Great Yuan dynasty. They couldn't wait to cover up this news. It was impossible for them to let the world know that there was someone who could threaten the Great Yuan dynasty's rule. And only the Great Yuan dynasty and the Dark Star Church knew that Yi Xing was the demon star of troubled times. Therefore, it was possible that the Dark Star Church deliberately spread the news to shake the confidence of the world's warriors in the Great Yuan dynasty. Yu Qinyue continued, according to the news, the demon star of troubled times will destroy the Great Yuan dynasty's rule over the Starland. Therefore, the Great Yuan dynasty naturally wanted to get rid of young master as soon as possible. However, young master went to the extraterritorial Starland, and the Great Yuan dynasty had no choice but to make a move on the people around young master. Yi Xing snorted and said, the Great Yuan dynasty, as a 3-star power, actually dared to do such a shameless thing. Luckily, I was prepared. Yu Qinyue said, the Great Yuan dynasty sent a 3-star king, but he was defeated by the Black Biao King the moment he arrived at the fallen star country. After that, the Great Meng King personally came to the East Divine Continent and fought with the Black Biao King. Although the Black Biao King had said that he didn't fear the Great Meng King with his strength, Yi Xing was still worried when he heard that the Black Biao King fought with the Great Meng Tai. After all, the Great Meng King was the only 4-star king in the Starland. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that he was the strongest in the Starland. Yi Xing said, what was the result? The Black Biao King didn't lose out, right? Yu Qinyue shook his head and said, that battle was earth-shattering. All the venerables in the East Divine Continent could feel the chi of heaven and earth going berserk. No one knows what the final result was. But after that battle, the forces of the East Divine Continent were divided into 2 groups. One group continued to listen to the orders of the Great Yuan dynasty, and the other group listened to the orders of the Dark Star sect. The 2 of them agreed that the Great Yuan dynasty and the Dark Star sect could not directly participate in the battle of the East Divine Continent. Yi Xing's heart relaxed. It seemed like the Black Biao King's estimation of his strength was very accurate. The Great Meng Tai indeed couldn't do anything to him. The Great Yuan dynasty held the ruling position and had a strong influence. If the Black Biao King wasn't the Great Meng Tai's opponent, the Great Yuan dynasty could directly send an army to the East Divine Continent and easily crush some of the factions that didn't listen to the Great Yuan dynasty's orders. There was no need to worry about the Dark Star sect's interference. Since both sides couldn't directly participate in the battle, it could be seen that the Great Yuan dynasty still had a headache about the Dark Star sect's interference. Yi Xing was very clear that in front of an absolute expert, numbers didn't have any advantage. Only an absolute expert of the same level could make the other party wary. Just like Yi Xing, facing the Azure Dragon Empire's tens of thousands of spiritual masters alone, he didn't care about them at all. Only an expert of the same level as him could stop him. The Great Meng revered king was the same. He was wary of the Dark Star sect, not because of the number of people in the Dark Star sect, but because of the existence of the Black Biao King. Yi Xing said, what's the situation in the East Divine Continent? Yu Qinyue said, the Dark Star sect has been developing in the East Divine Continent for more than 1,000 years. Moreover, because of the demon star in the chaotic times, many martial artists' confidence in the Great Yuan dynasty has been shaken. More than half of the factions have joined the Dark Star sect. Overall, the strength of both sides is about the same. In the past few months, there have been victories and losses in the battles, but I haven't heard of any empire being destroyed. It's because of this that the Great Yuan dynasty took out precious medicine and chose the Azure Dragon Empire as their tool to sweep through the East Divine Continent's lower-rank empires. It allowed Long Xingyu to forcefully break through to the 4-star Venerable Realm, causing the Azure Dragon Empire's strength to increase greatly. Originally, although my strength couldn't win against Long Xingyu, I could still protect myself. The battle between the Azure Dragon Empire and my Azure Feather Empire lasted for 2 months without a clear victor. But after Long Xingyu became a 4-star Venerable, I lost to him and the Azure Feather Empire was defeated. They had no choice but to retreat to the inner city of the Imperial Palace, relying on the formation to defend. Chapter 632. The battle between martial powers was not about the number of people, but about the most powerful battle power. When Yu Qinyue and Long Xingyu were at the same level, even if there was a winner, it would not affect the overall situation. Once the battle between Yu Qinyue and Long Xingyu was decided, then both sides would be defeated immediately. Therefore, after Long Xingyu became a 4-star venerable and Yu Qinyue was injured by Long Xingyu, the Qingyu Empire was immediately defeated. They abandoned all their land and could only rely on the formation to defend the inner city of the Imperial Palace. Yi Xing learned about the events that had happened in the past half a year from Yu Qinyue, as well as the current situation, and left the Green Feather Empire. Although there were battles everywhere in the East God continent, the situation was still relatively stable. It was probably because Yi Xing was in the outer space, and no one knew whether he was alive or dead. Therefore, the Great Yuan dynasty did not invest too much in the battles in the East God continent. At the moment, they only invested heavily in the Blue Dragon Empire. However, once the news of Yi Xing returning from the outer space reached the Supreme King Mengtai's ears, the situation would probably change. The Supreme King Mengtai was determined to kill Yi Xing. Since Yi Xing was in the East God continent, and he was determined to kill Yi Xing, he would definitely increase the support of the powers in the East God continent. He might even send experts to kill Yi Xing directly. Although I have become a venerable, although I can fight above my realm, although I can transform into a dragon and become even more powerful, it is still not enough compared to the Great Yuan dynasty. Far from enough. Without the protection of the Dark Star sect, I don't even have the power to protect myself against the Great Yuan dynasty. I have to cultivate higher and stronger. Yi Xing thought silently. He did not feel complacent because his cultivation speed was much faster than others. Instead, he maintained a firm and pressing martial heart at all times. After leaving the Green Feather Empire, Yi Xing first teleported to the vicinity of the desolate mountain range. When the sky turned dark, Yi Xing used the Dark Yuan Qi to cover all of his aura, and headed towards the Falling Star sect in the desolate mountain range. Yi Xing's dark aura had already walked very far in the realm of being one with the world. Few astral-reaching realm experts could be compared to him. Using the Dark Yuan Qi to cover his tracks, even during the day, few tracking experts could track him. As for the night, even king-level experts could not track him. The Falling Star sect was Ye's weakness. In the dark of night, Yi Xing arrived at the Falling Star sect's location. The formations and restrictions here were all set up by Yi Xing. Yi Xing silently passed through the formations and entered the sect. It was still early in the night, and most people in the Falling Star sect were still awake. Yi Xing went to Hua Tianfeng's residence, which was still lit. "Who?" Hua Tianfeng's voice came from inside. "Master, disciple Yi Xing has returned." Yi Xing stood outside the door and said respectfully, "Yi Xing?" Hua Tianfeng cried out in surprise. His surprised voice carried a trace of joy. Then, with a creak, the door opened. Hua Tianfeng looked at Yi Xing with eyes full of pleasant surprise. "Yi Xing, is it really you?" Hua Tianfeng grabbed Yi Xing's arm and said happily, "I heard you took first place in the Heavenly Fate list in the Starry Sky Arena and killed all the geniuses of the Great Yuan dynasty. You obtained the fate of 100 Zhang Star Continent and obtained the qualifications to enter a mid-rank Star Continent. You finally returned from the Star Continent." Although the Falling Star sect lived in seclusion here, Yu Qinyue would always send news about Yi Xing. Yi Xing smiled faintly and said, "Disciple has returned. How is the Falling Star sect? Is everything all right?" "Everything is fine, everything is fine." Hua Tianfeng smiled happily and said, "Since you're back, I'll go inform Sect Master Gu and the others and let them be happy." Not long after, Yi Xing met with Gu Tiansheng, Lin Tongyu, and the other upper echelons. Yi Xing was the legend of the Falling Star sect. Everyone was happy to see Yi Xing return. After more than a year, Gu Tiansheng and Lin Tongyu's cultivation had improved. Gu Tianshang had become a 3-star venerable and Lin Tongyu had broken through to the astral realm. That night, Yixing stayed at the Falling Star sect. In the room, Yixing waved his hand and dozens of interspatial rings appeared on the table in front of him. Among these interspatial rings, 2/3 were mid-rank and 1/3 were high-rank. They were obtained from the disciples of the Celestial Palace, Dark Moon Palace, and Demon's Sealing Valley. There were also the interspatial rings of several venerables from the Blue Dragon Empire. These people had died at the hands of Yixing, so Yixing naturally took their interspatial rings. After obtaining these interspatial rings, Yixing was either busy comprehending martial arts in the Black Tortoise Jade Wall or rushing to the Cyan Feather Empire or the Falling Star sect. Now that he finally had some free time, he naturally wanted to check the gains in these interspatial rings. The gains were enormous. The average 2-star forces collection couldn't compare to these gains. Yixing had obtained more than 20 profound weapons. Most of them were low-rank profound weapons, but there were a few mid-rank profound weapons that were worth a lot. For example, the Blazing Flame Spear from Xing Luyang, the Golden Feather Sword from Xing Liuyu, and the Dark Rune Gloves from Xian Yefeng were also mid-rank profound weapons. A mid-rank profound weapon was the most precious treasure of a 2-star force. Having one was already very good. A 2-star force that had 3 mid-rank profound weapons was probably only a high-rank empire. In addition to the large number of profound weapons, the star crystals in the dozens of interspatial rings were also a huge harvest. There were more than 10 million star crystals. Yixing counted the high-rank star crystals and found that there were more than 10,000 of them. As for the various materials, they were piled up like mountains. They were the largest in quantity. Refining materials, array formation materials, everything one could think of was there. Yixing found several pieces of profound grade mid-grade black gold. Unfortunately, Yixing's azure feather wings were already mid-rank profound level. Even after absorbing the black gold, it couldn't evolve to high-rank profound level. But Yixing still took out a piece of mid-rank profound level black gold and refined it into the azure feather wings. It made the azure feather wings grade among the mid-rank profound weapons and its flying speed increased. Yixing wanted to find some martial arts manuals, preferably profound level ones. But to his disappointment, there were none in the interspatial rings. It seemed that even the sects in the Starry Crescent Land were very strict about martial arts manuals. Yixing exclaimed. He found a manual in an upper-rank interspatial ring. Burning Blood Skill. Is this Xing Liuyu's interspatial ring? Yixing took out the Burning Blood skill and flipped it open. The effect was the same as the secret skill that Xing Liuyu had used. It is indeed Xing Liuyu's item. The other disciples of Xianxia Palace didn't use the Burning Blood skill. Only Xing Liuyu used it. It seems that this is not a secret skill of Xianxia Palace. Xing Liuyu must have found it during his exploration and kept it with him. Chapter 633. The Blazing Blood art could obtain great power by burning one's blood. The stronger the bloodline, the more power one would obtain. However, there was a limit to the amount of blood in one's body. If one's blood ran out, they would be dead. Therefore, the Blazing Blood art could only last for a certain period of time. Moreover, after using the Blazing Blood art, one's body would be weakened. The more blood one burned, the weaker one's body would be. Only when one's body started to produce blood and the blood in one's body reached a normal state would one be able to recover. Although the side effects are great, the effect is very strong. The power obtained by burning one's blood is terrifying. My strength will increase tremendously and I can kill experts stronger than myself. My blood used to be very ordinary. Even if I used the Blazing Blood art, it wouldn't increase my strength by much. However, it's different now. I have refined the Divine Dragon's blood essence and possess the Divine Dragon's bloodline. The power obtained by using the Blazing Blood art might be stronger than the Starflow Feather. Yixing thought to himself. He was very satisfied with the Blazing Blood art. Yixing refined all the upper-grade storage rings and put away the Blazing Blood art. He didn't plan to stay here for long. Now wasn't the time to cultivate. Before dawn, Yi Xing went to Hua Tianfeng's residence. He sorted out some herbs and elixirs overnight and gave them to Hua Tianfeng. These would be useful for the development of the Falling Star sect. Then, Yi Xing left the Falling Star sect while the sky was dark. When dawn broke, he had already crossed the barbaric mountain range and was about to reach the true Xian region. Yi Xing gathered the wind yuan qi and flew rapidly in the sky. Although he didn't push his speed to the limit, it was still extremely fast. Yi Xing flew more than 1,000,000 miles in a day. Before dusk, Yi Xing arrived at the old site of the Falling Star sect in the Qingyan region. There's someone here? Yi Xing was surprised when he was above the old site of the Falling Star sect. He hid in the clouds and looked into the distance. He scanned with his superbrain and found a black-clothed man in the main hall of the Falling Star Peak. Yi Xing remembered this black-clothed man. He used to hide in the old site of the Spirit Moon sect. When he and Wei Qingxian went there, they were almost discovered by this man. Who would have thought that this person would actually move to the old site of the Falling Star sect? Back then, Yi Xing had only hurriedly scanned this person. Before he could see his specific cultivation level, this person had sensed it. Now that Yi Xing was a venerable one, his ability to hide his aura could not be compared to before. Moreover, the superbrain had evolved to a stronger state. When it scanned the person could not sense it anymore. So, it's a 4-star venerable. However, this person's aura is even more surging than Meng Tsang's. His strength should be much more powerful. His cultivation must have reached the peak of the 4th level of astral reaching realm. His battle strength should be almost unrivaled in the same realm. Yi Xing scanned the man with his superbrain and knew everything about him. Compared to the geniuses from the starry crescent land that Yi Xing had encountered in the extraterritorial starland, this person's strength was only inferior to Feng Xiaoxiao, Xing Liuyu, Feng Xiong, and the other 5-star venerables. He was much stronger than everyone else. Moreover, compared to Xing Liuyu, this person's strength was not far off. As long as he took a small step forward, his strength would reach the level of a 5-star venerable. Yi Xing said inwardly, this person's strength is very strong. However, for the current me, it's nothing. Apart from this black-robed man, there were other things here. Outside the Falling Star Valley, there were several surveillance and defensive formations. They were all ordinary Grade 4 formations. If Yi Xing wanted to enter the Falling Star Valley, he would have to destroy these formations. Presumably, these formations were set up by this black-robed man. As the master of the formation, he would be able to sense Yi Xing entering the Falling Star Valley immediately. Setting up the formations outside the Falling Star Valley obviously meant that he had discovered the Falling Star secret realm and guessed that I might return. Therefore, he set up a blockade here. It seems that if I want to enter the Star Palace, I'll have to get rid of you first. Yi Xing revealed himself and descended from the sky. Since it was impossible to sneak into the Falling Star Valley secretly, he would barge in openly. Yi Xing revealed himself and his aura leaked out. The black-robed man on the Falling Star Peak immediately sensed it and left the main hall in a flash. As soon as Yi Xing arrived outside the Falling Star Valley, the black-robed man appeared in front of him. His eyes were like hooks as he stared coldly at Yi Xing. The black-robed man looked to be around 30 years old. As a venerable one, his real age might be 60 or 70 years old. His face was slightly pale as if it was caused by malnutrition. As a venerable one, he definitely would not be malnourished. It should be caused by cultivating some kind of martial arts. The black-robed man looked at Yi Xing and Yi Xing looked back at him. Their eyes met and they stared at each other for a few breaths' time. You're Yi Xing? The black-robed man frowned slightly. It was obvious that even he did not believe this judgment. Yi Xing shook his head. The other party was from the Great Yuan dynasty. Yi Xing should hide his identity as much as possible. Regardless of whether the other party's guess was right or not, at least he should not expose himself. The black-robed man did not believe Yi Xing's denial. He said, although I find it hard to believe that you've stepped into the Venerable One realm at such a young age, but only a martial artist from the Falling Star sect would come here and know that there's a secret space here. Only you, Yi Xing, can become a venerable one in the Falling Star sect. The more the black-robed man spoke, the more certain his tone became. Your aura is full of vitality, which means that you're very young. You've obviously disguised your appearance, which makes you look old. This secret space can't even be cracked by the kings of the Meng royal family. It's obviously extraordinary. The Falling Star sect is just a one-star sect, so they definitely haven't fully developed this secret space. So, Yi Xing, one day you'll return to the Falling Star sect and enter this secret space again. Am I right? Yi Xing smiled faintly and said, "No matter who I am, I want to enter the valley. Since you're going to stop me, then I can only kill you." Whoosh! In an instant, a ray of starlight shot into the sky. Yi Xing had used his astrology. "Kill me? You've just become a venerable one and you're already so arrogant." Before the black-robed man could finish his words, his expression changed. His surroundings suddenly turned pitch black. Yi Xing had used the black hole astrology to plunge his opponent into a world of darkness. This person was extremely strong. If he did not dragonize, it would be difficult to deal with him. He could only rely on the black hole astrology to defeat him. Whoosh! The black-robed man's reaction was extremely fast. When his expression changed, he also used his astrology. It was the superior ominous star, Tuoluo star. His face suddenly became even paler, revealing a gloomy aura. He wore a pair of black gloves on his hands. The gloves' 5 fingers had sharp claws that were extremely sharp. Yi Xing was far away. He took out the earth profound bow and drew it. Earth energy condensed into an earthy yellow arrow. Dark wind fire arrow formula. Yi Xing used the archery technique he had comprehended from the black tortoise jade wall. Chapter 634. Fire and wind elemental energy gathered on the khaki-colored arrow in an instant. The wind elemental energy aided the fire, and the power was extremely terrifying. However, within the wind and fire yuan qi, there was also dark yuan qi. It covered the aura of the violent power and it was silent. Whoosh! Suddenly, another ray of starlight shot into the sky and turned into a huge starlight bow. The use of the Sagittarius constellation increased the power of the arrow and reached the limit. At this moment, the black-clothed man shouted and pounced towards Yi Xing. He waved his hand and a few green claw lights appeared. They were obviously poisonous. This person's sensing power was extremely sensitive. Through the moment when Yi Xing used the Sagittarius constellation's star power undulations, he was able to lock onto Yi Xing's position. In the world of darkness, he did not have any fear or panic. At the same time, the yuan qi arrow on the earth mysterious bow also left the bowstring and shot towards the black-clothed man. The yuan qi arrow turned in the air and changed direction. In the blink of an eye, it changed direction 6 times. Although the black-clothed man could not see the arrow in the world of darkness and could not sense the existence of the arrow because of the obstruction of the dark yuan qi, he could feel the danger that the arrow brought to him. The black-clothed man raised his other hand high. Wherever the danger came from, he grabbed in that direction to block the arrow. In the blink of an eye, the black-clothed man's palm changed direction 5 times. His reaction was extremely fast. Unfortunately, Yi Xing's arrow changed direction 6 times and the black-clothed man still could not catch it. Puff! The yuan qi arrow shot past the black-clothed man's palm and into his head. The terrifying power exploded in his head and destroyed his mind. The black-clothed man fell to the ground and was killed by an arrow. Yi Xing's figure split and dodged the incoming claw lights. His figure reappeared in front of the black-clothed man's corpse. The dark wind fire arrow formula is truly formidable and impossible to defend against. This person's reaction speed is definitely the fastest and most sensitive among all the martial artists I've killed. He can't see the arrow nor can he sense the arrow, but he can accurately defend himself according to the danger he feels in his heart. If I were to transform into a dragon, it would be very difficult to kill him without using dragon martial arts. Yi Xing thought. After testing the dark wind fire arrow spell for the first time, he was very satisfied. Putting away the astrology, he grabbed the storage ring of the black-robed man with a wave of his hand. After that, Yi Xing activated his fire elemental energy and used his fire elemental energy to burn the black-robed man to ashes. The normal rank 4 formations outside of the Starfall Valley were nothing to Yi Xing. Yi Xing easily destroyed them. After entering the Starfall Valley, Yi Xing took out the Starfall token and connected it to the Starfall Hall. A ray of light enveloped his body, and he disappeared with a whoosh. Yi Xing appeared on the first floor of the Star Palace and started the Astral Reaching Realm trial. Yi Xing, you've entered the Astral Reaching Realms so quickly? The moment Yi Xing entered the Star Palace, Mr. Pimp sensed him and his voice resounded in the Star Palace. Yi Xing faintly nodded and said, I encountered some good fortune in the outer region. Otherwise, I wouldn't be this fast. Very good, very good. Your cultivation has improved by leaps and bounds. Among all the geniuses I've seen, you're not the youngest to enter the Astral Reaching Realm. However, you've taken the least time to go from the Astral Reaching Realm. If you can maintain this momentum on the road of martial arts, you'll be able to become a Star Ocean Realm King in a few years and completely obtain the Star Palace. Mr. Pimp's voice was heard. He sounded very happy. Yi Xing said, I'll do my best. Alright, let's start the trial. The Astral Reaching Realms trial rewards are the same as the Astral Reaching Realm. There are no rewards for the first and second floors. Only the third and fourth floors have rewards. However, the rewards are much more advanced. The third floor rewards a high-grade profound level falling star incantation and a mid-grade profound weapon. The fourth floor rewards a high-grade profound level falling star incantation and a mid-grade profound pellet. Moreover, passing the Astral Reaching Realms trial will bring you other rewards. You should finish the trial first. I'll tell you then. Mr. Pimp's voice was heard. Yi Xing's Astral Reaching Realm trial had begun. Yi Xing had entered the Astral Reaching Realm because his body had fused with the Divine Dragon's essence blood, and he had comprehended his own martial arts from the Black Tortoise Jade Wall. His ability to challenge those with higher realms was even better than when he was in the Astral Reaching Realm. Passing the Astral Reaching Realms trial was naturally a piece of cake. First floor, second floor, third floor. Yi Xing passed the first 3 floors with ease. Soon, it was time for him to receive his rewards. First, a beam of light appeared and shot into Yi Xing's head. Immediately, the high-grade profound level falling star incantation appeared in Yi Xing's head. Mr. Pimp's voice was heard. Mid-grade profound weapon. What kind of weapon do you choose? Yi Xing had 3 mid-grade profound weapons on him: Burning Flame Profound Spear, Golden Feather Profound Sword, and Dark Pattern Boxing Gloves. Among them, Yi Xing couldn't use the Golden Feather Profound Sword, while the Burning Flame Profound Spear and Dark Pattern Boxing Gloves were both very suitable for Yi Xing. Among the weapons that Yi Xing was good at, the only mid-grade profound weapon missing was the bow. The Earth Profound Bow was only a low-grade profound weapon. Compared to a mid-grade profound bow, its power was obviously not on the same level. Yi Xing said, I choose a bow-type weapon. Soon, a light flashed in front of Yi Xing, and a great bow appeared. This was a jet-black great bow. The body of the bow was jet black, and the bowstring was also jet black. Mr. Pimp's voice sounded, This is the Black Profound Bow. The body of the bow was forged from the top mid-grade profound gold, black profound black gold. The bowstring was forged from the tendons of a high-grade level 4 demonic beast, Black Abyss Flood Dragon. The power of the Black Profound Bow is astonishing. It is definitely one of the best mid-grade profound bows. Looking at this unremarkable jet black bow, Yi Xing didn't expect the materials to be so amazing. Holding the Black Profound Bow in his hand, he repeatedly praised it as a good bow. He was very happy in his heart. Yi Xing tried to pull the Black Profound Bow. No matter how much strength he exerted, the bowstring of the Black Profound Bow was only slightly raised. With his current strength, he couldn't even pull the Black Profound Bow open. The power of the arrow was closely related to the bow. The stronger the bow, the harder it was to pull it open. This was very normal. Otherwise, if anyone could use a great bow as long as they had a great bow in their hands, even if their cultivation was low, wouldn't they be invincible? Yi Xing put away the black profound bow. His cultivation had been advancing by leaps and bounds. Now, he couldn't pull the black profound bow open. When his cultivation broke through again and his strength increased, he would be able to pull it open. Star Palace, 4th floor. Yi Xing saw Mr. Pimp, who had turned into a little old man. 2 long mustaches were fluttering at the corners of his mouth. His small eyes were looking at Yi Xing, emitting rays of light. Good. Yi Xing, you are truly a freak. Your innate talent wasn't very high at the beginning, but every time I see you, your innate talent is much higher than before. This is even more so this time. This level of innate talent is rare even in a mid-ranked continent, very rare indeed. Mr. Pimp looked at Yi Xing and sighed. You're tuning in to the Wandering Hero YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.